Hey guys, welcome to episode 177 of 4PlayerAnimecast. It is well into the summer season, stuff is winding down, and we're already obviously starting to look into sort of, what we have left of the summer season series as well as looking forward to the fall 2021 series as well. So, going to be some upcoming episodes on that, but without further ado, I am your host Spire and with me are all three of my compatriots, Near,
Hi.
Dark,
Hello.
and last but certainly not least, Toast, who is back with us today.
Hello, it's me.
Yes. So, and how have you guys been doing these past 2 weeks? Let's start with Near.
Um, you know, um, playing more gacha, uh,
Oh,
as
this is.
usual,
Re-
as one does. But other than that, not too much. The Shadowverse mini expansion came out.
Mhm.
Um, and I kind of like didn't even notice. uh,
I mean, once, especially in these sorts of games, once it if you're not constantly playing it, and they're also releasing stuff at like a fast, like smaller stuff at a faster rate, then it's very easy to lose track of. Honestly,
yeah. Um, but from what I've seen, I mean, I haven't played, so I can't really say for certain. But the stuff I've seen, like the decks I've been looking at, like the new decks and stuff, it hasn't really shaken up the meta like at all. It kind of seems like that all pretty much most of the new cards that they released are kind of just like, yeah, this deck was already being used, and here's a new card that this deck can use that just makes it better. It's like,
nice.
okay, sure. Uh, Apparently it's pretty much like that for most decks, except for apparently the new Dragoncraft Legendary is dog shit. It's not good. Um, people are like trying to say that like, oh no, bro, it'll be good in like 2 expansions. Because like Psy Games totally thinks ahead and shit. It's true, but it kind of just looks bad. I don't know. And I think the new Havencraft legendary is kind of cool because apparently it gets you basically a new version of Heavenly Aegis. Um,
Oh,
so
I saw that one. Yeah,
that's kind
The
of
one that
cool.
just
but it's
can't
not.
take
But no,
damage.
no, but
Yeah,
it's not as good because it's like
it's not as good
the
because
attack
it's
and defense can be changed,
yeah
right?
it's well Aegis could do that as well. You could change
Oh
Aegis's
yeah, yeah,
attack
yeah, that's
and
true.
defense,
Yeah,
which is why Heavenly Aegis has a death line. Um,
right, right,
like it
right,
has a death voice line. You can technically reduce his defense to zero,
right,
with
right.
effects and stuff. But yeah, like they can't be damaged. You can't banish him. Um, you can't destroy him. You can't no effects affect him except for changing his attack. Um, but yeah, there's a new one, and it does one less. It has like one less attack, but you technically don't have to play it because it's like a token that comes out
Okay,
from other stuff. So there's that. But I don't know. I might play some, but
okay.
you know, Shudders is a frustrating game. But other than that,
Nothing
not too
else.
much.
Okay, pretty good, pretty good. Uh, Dark. What about you?
Um, I have also been keeping up with Gacha now. Um,
Am I the only one here that's like completely out of Gacha land? Is that how it is?
Yes.
Thank
Yeah.
God.
guy
Yeah.
fucking
You're lame,
doesn't want to
dude.
play cool games like Genshin Impact or Punishing Grey Raven.
Yeah.
Imagine. Um, yeah, I've been doing that. I've been kind of slacking because I got addicted to something far, far worse than Gacha.
Ah, yes.
Like, who would have thought? Star Citizen. I am fully fucking addicted to that game. I now own. Let's see, let's list them up. I own the Hercules C2
Oh my
as
god.
my base pack. I upgraded to.
These are
First
like
upgraded to a
ships in Star
Mercury.
Citizen, by the way.
Yeah. So
Yeah,
first
Dark has
upgraded
spent
to a
well
Mercury
over like
Star Runner.
$1,000.
No, I do
I
not
believe
have
it.
the top hat and monocle yet. I will
Yeah,
probably
but
pretty soon.
you've also spent like $1,000 with like your joysticks and
Oh
shit
yeah,
too.
that's true. I
Like,
bought I also bought a flight stick setup, so that was something. But that's coming in like a month because it's back ordered. I bought what are they called? The Verpal VPC. I forget what they're. It's like VPC something. But they're very cool. They have a ton of buttons on them. They have a ton of they have like a bottom and top like levers. Like the bottom has like a lever thing too that you can like pull, which is really and that's going to be really useful as well for mappings. Trying to think of what else. Yeah, so Star Citizen, my ships, I went from something called a Mercury Star Runner, which was like the essentially made to be like a similar to the Millennium Falcon with its asymmetry and everything.
Mhm.
And shape and being a smuggler, like a smuggling ship. So then upgraded that to a C2 Hercules, which is fucking massive. The sense of scale is incredibly cool. Then picked up Crusader Ion Ares Inferno? No. Crusader Ares Ion. No, I picked up the Inferno, which is a giant it's just gonna be like it's almost like a stealth, not really a stealth bomber or a stealth ship, but it kind of looks like that in real life, somewhat similar, a little bit. Almost like a fucking like longsword from Halo, but not actually. No, it doesn't. Never mind. It's cool. It's sleek. Look it up.
It's
Uh,
cool, mom. Okay.
has a fucking size 7 gun, which is one of the largest sizes. And it's the Inferno has a giant chain gun. And I will probably be picking up the Ion because that has a giant laser beam on it. And they're both made to, well, essentially, like, they are heavy fighters, so they have missiles, they have that. But they're basically just supposed to be a big gun to take down, like, even bigger ships. So that's going to be really cool. And then I also have the Speria Talon, which is like an alien recreation. No, a recreation of an alien ship, which looks like a big hawk, like a big bird. Cool. And that thing's pretty cool too. That's pretty much it. Been keeping somewhat up with anime. Not a
But
ton.
it's mainly Star
Kinda
Citizen all the
dry. But it's
time.
mainly Star Citizen as much as I can. Overclocked my RAM today for it. Let me
Oh
tell you,
my god.
runs a lot better when your RAM is the speed that's on the box. That's another pro tip for you. Turns out RAM runs way slower than it says on the box, which is the opposite of what a CPU does. So that's pretty cool.
Anyways, anything else other than Star Citizen? Or I guess you've already said you're pretty much all in on Star Citizen at this point. So
Nope, just Star
yeah.
Citizen.
Okay. Thank you, Dark. How about you, Toast? I know last episode you were a little bit occupied with uh trying to get your internet connection back. But how have you been other
I
than
was
that
I
these past
was
2 weeks?
doing good until later this day, which sucked. The
Oh
only
yeah, the
thing
delay.
the only thing
Yes.
good was Germa's Dollhouse streams.
Oh, that was so good. Honestly.
After that, no, nothing to look forward to for the rest of the day. So
Okay. All right. I
yeah,
guess then my 2 weeks,
I was going to
oh,
have fun
yes.
watching the Hollow EN Generation 2 console
And then it
debuts,
got
but
delayed.
then
Is that fun though? really
I
think about.
It can be fun for people.
I was gonna have a
Did they
9 hour
give a
watch along.
reason at all,
Yeah,
or is it?
What was it?
all four out of the five had their debut streams up, but the dear girl Serei's Fauna was having technical problems, so they're like, oh, I guess let's delay it
Okay.
because so they're delaying it until further notice because solidarity,
Uh huh.
Anything else?
So
Oh,
everyone's waiting for news of
yeah.
when we get to watch the debuts.
I'm sure it'll be fine. I mean,
They'll be fine, but I was looking forward to Oro Crony's debut, but now I gotta wait. That's that's a shame. She's the one I've got my eye on the most this generation for obvious reasons.
I saw what's her name? The brown one.
The
I thought she
space
was
one.
designed by
Which one?
yeah,
There's
she
two
was
of them.
designed by Paco.
Yeah,
Her model does not look very good though. I don't know what happened. Um,
some of these can be hit or miss.
I mean
yeah,
it
I
looks
mean, it
okay in
looks
motion.
pretty. It looks pretty scuffed in the art. So
I don't know. I feel
In,
like
in
I don't know.
motion, fine.
It just
I
feels like
don't know.
the shading. Maybe it's just the picture I saw, but it feels like the skin is very flat. I don't know. Maybe it'll look better like in motion.
You don't like Ganguro?
Um,
I get a Ganguro kind of feeling from
I mean,
her.
I guess,
And
but
I'm
it's
fine with
just I
that.
don't know. The design is fine. I
Don't
mean, I love Paco's art. Like,
don't
but
you know why she's brown near?
no.
Haven't you heard of space radiation?
Uh,
So
yeah,
she's space tanned,
yeah,
sun
she's
tanned.
cooked from the sun.
Yeah,
But yeah,
I get it. They're very smart.
Okay. Anything
But
else,
yeah,
Toast?
I was the time girl Oro Crony. She was my ringer, but now she's gone.
forever.
Not forever.
Yeah,
Lost
it's
to
over.
so in terms of the Amelia versus Crony fight, it's Amelia's going 2-0 because Twitter banned Crony and now her debut is delayed. So this just happened when Amelia Watson was conveniently on vacation. So the time traveling detective has some tricks. Yeah, you know what the war is called basically. Amelia's fan name is Teammates, and Crony's fan name is Cronies. So it's the teammates versus cronies. I
Ah,
get it. It's
God.
pretty funny. Get it? Crony like time, but she
Yes,
turned to
I
cronies.
understand.
Ah.
Enough to make one puke in their own mouth, but
So I have a whole wasted Saturday that I did nothing in except watch Germa. But I was gonna do that anyway, so it's still wasted.
uh, were you going to oil yourself for the debut or something? Like, what were you doing for those hours?
I was gonna do a watch along on the big
Yeah,
screen.
but it doesn't.
uh,
Okay.
rented
Well,
out
I guess
a stadium.
stadium.
What's a viewing party, right? You got the man cave with the big with with the big screen TV and all that, and the speakers, but no, I guess not.
Uh,
Oh wow,
unfortunate.
people like civilization and and the rat. Good for them.
Anyways, anything else, Toast?
I'm reviews.
Okay. I guess thank you, Toast, for your past weeks. And as for me, again, I haven't been up to too much either. Yeah, I've been running around a little bit, trying to been a little bit on and off the past 2 weeks, just a little bit under the weather. But what else? Oh yeah. Um,
How's your
we don't.
stomach, Spire? I heard you were having stomach problems.
Well, I
Did
currently am. I don't. Well, I don't want to blow this up, but
you
I'm
if you
still.
gotta poop? If you gotta poop,
Well,
then go right ahead.
Yeah, I'll just do it in the middle of the podcast.
Set
Yeah,
up your
Okay.
computer at your toilet.
Yeah.
yeah, exactly. It's like it's gonna be ASMR, toilet ASMR essentially. But
You streamed in a weird room before.
yes, but
Yeah,
that's not. I
you're
don't think that's the
like
same
you
as
hid in
bathroom.
like you hid in a closet.
Yeah.
Just put it on
Yeah,
speaker.
a closet. Listen, what is a bathroom but a closet with a
A water
toilet?
closet.
With the
A water
toilet.
closet.
Technically, the sound in the closet is better just because the sound is actually more close in instead of dispersing, which improves the quality actually, and it doesn't like fully resonate because it's not like shitty wood, right? But
Yeah,
I
but
also
you
don't
also
want.
can't bathroom while you're doing
Yeah.
it. So really,
Yeah, that's true.
the
Yeah,
tra-
I
the
just need to
utility
install a toilet
trade-off
in
is
my
kind
closet.
of greater. So
keep your keep your bladder levels high, Spire. You don't want to
just
fart on stream. Just like
That is true.
soundproof your bathroom. Put up some
Yeah,
foam.
I either need to put pads on my bathroom or install a toilet in my closet. Either one. But anyways, I recently went through a rash of visual novels.
Oh,
I just
you got some spicy recommendations because I do too.
I don't really have that many recommendations, honestly. Like a lot of the stuff like the stuff I've read this time around are not like they're ones that are quite known, at least in the visual novel scene, but I still don't really like recommending them that much just because I personally don't find them that good. But yeah,
Spire here. I saw a funny one. Uh, would you
yeah.
recommend this one? I got
Which one?
a Gender Bend Me Sayonara Demon Dong.
I would. I
That's
don't know
pretty
if I
base.
would. Yeah, pretty base. But the one. So I read like a couple of pretty standard stuff that people would find on a lot of more recent visual novel lists. I think I went through Primal Hearts. I went through Riddle
Oh,
Joker, the pretty famous one by Ubisoft. I did a little bit run through of what is it? Kinkoi, or I'm planning on getting a little bit more into Kinkoi later. My Tetsu. Oh my god, My Tetsu is so hard to get through, bro. I can't do this.
Why, bro?
Spire.
Skino.
Who is Spire? Who is Atelier Sakura?
Play Sakura? I don't.
Because I heard they made a sequel recently.
I need to. Oh no, I know. I've heard of these people, but I forget who. What
Uh,
the fuck is this?
what about Marina's Cuckolding Report 2? I believe it's a sequel to
I don't think
Cuckolding Report
I.
1.
That sounds pretty good.
Yeah, I don't know about this. Yeah, I don't know about this studio. Anyways,
Just
what can I
short,
say?
2 to 10 hours. Just enough
I'm
time
not
for
I'm
one evening.
not the length of the game is not what I'm looking at necessarily. But
Why
yeah,
not?
anyways, I've gone through a couple of stuff. I'm also trying to go through a lot that's um you know the bulk of the stuff I've searched or I have installed are actually not sort of localized. They're raw or aka just like in the original Japanese. I'm just kind of going through them, and I have a lot of winter themed visual novels in my backlog because I like winter themed visual novels and stuff, and that makes me feel good even in the summer for some reason. And the one I'm going through right now is Amakano, a very famous recent, I say in the past couple of years, visual novel that I'm gonna go through. So enjoying that. But yeah, other than that, haven't been doing much. So yeah, that's been my 2 weeks, and with that we'll just start straight off with Dark. What are you going to cover for us today?
I've got a show called Kageki Shoujo.
Yeah, what is it? What is it? Kageki Shoujo, right? It's the
Kogeki. Is it? Is it?
opera girl. It's Kageki Shoujo. Kageki.
Yep.
Kageki Shoujo. Yeah.
Yes,
What?
yes.
I
Kageki Shoujo. Yeah. Okay. Keep going.
yeah. So
Oh wait, sorry. This is Pine Jam, right? Pine Jam Studios.
yeah.
Ponjang Studio. They did stuff like Gleipnir before Gamers. They did. Oh wait, were they the studio that was made when they did Getsuyo no Tawa? You know how like this studio was made from Getsuyo no Tawa, if I remember correctly, right? Like that was their
Um,
first. Wasn't that their first series? Like that and Just Because?
Maul
Maybe.
says. Maul says. What the hell is this?
Yeah,
Mahou
this was
shoujo nante mo ii desu kara.
huh. No, well, this was in the same season, right? Oh wait, no, it was
Mm,
in the first season. Oh, what the fuck, really? I thought
yeah, I'm
wasn't
pretty
wasn't wasn't
sure.
Gets wasn't like an entire studio made because of Getsuyo no Tawa? Like, wasn't that part of the news?
I think so. I remember
Oh,
hearing
that's
about
weird.
that. I feel like
Okay,
this studio was probably made for. Maybe it was like made for Getsuyobi no Tawa, and
hmm
then like they ran into some.
maybe
Maybe they
they
ran
brought a
into
lot of the major people in for that, and this
yeah,
what is it? Mahou Shoujo Nante mo ii desu kara was like a little bit before they brought in like all the Sword Art Online Alicization and the Tawa people. You know what I mean?
maybe.
Yeah. Anyway, sorry for interrupting there. Go on.
Um. Yeah. So anyway, this is about like oh god, what is it? It's about two girls that go to a school for like performance essentially, like for plays, opera, etc., etc. And I forget exactly what I don't know if it's the terminology or if it's the school itself called Koka, Kouka. And like that's the troupe. And so they're basically
Kuka,
going
yeah.
yeah, so they're basically going to a high school where it's like this is what you're going to do. Like we'll either do it and be with the troupe or you're gone. Like that's it. Like you're not there's no like one of the episodes one of the teachers is basically like this isn't a normal high school. Like in a high school, you have so many paths that you could potentially take ahead of you. You could just like, get married and either be like a stay-at-home parent or you could get an office job or you could be a teacher, like something like that. And he's like, but this is a little bit different. You're either going to become part of the troupe or you won't. And that's it. Um
By the way, this the Kuka is essentially the kanji used for it is spelled with the kanji for red, like crimson, essentially, like crimson curtains, right? And the kanji for sort of brilliant, kind of flowery, kind of showy, flashy kind of stuff. So obviously feeding into that. But Kuka also means if you just read it out loud, it means effect. So, but yeah,
okay.
anyways, keep going.
So and so the story basically centers around our two main characters, which is Narita Ai and Watanabe Sarasa.
Mhm.
And so uh, their two backstories is Narita Ai is the daughter of like a famous actress, and she was an idol who dropped out of being an idol after like calling a fan creepy to his face at a handshaking event. I'll get more into that in a second. And then the other character, Sarasa Watanabe, was a country girl. Basically, doesn't really have much of a background in performance, but her family, basically, like her upbringing, made her really into. What is that? Why can't I can't think of the plays now? It begins with an R. Rakugo, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So she was really into that, and she's really into like period pieces and whatnot. And she's only into like one play, and I don't remember its name. Something of Versailles. So Oh yeah, that's what it is. The Rose
The
of
Rose of
Versailles.
Versailles?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, the Rose of Versailles.
So she's desperately wants to play Lady Oscar, but she's also like 6 feet tall, which people kind of don't want to lay it on her because like her backstory is that her grandmother or something told her you'll like never be that because even as a kid she was extremely tall, and it's like in order to do that, the person which a lot of people want to play is like the what do they call it? Something. Let me see if I can find it. It's like Otoko. Yeah, Otokoyaku, which is like a female performer playing the male, like the male part,
Mhm.
because they're all female performers. And you know their point is like, if you're gonna play Lady Oscar, then the Otokoyaku, in order like would have to be
Oh yeah, we
taller
got
than
taller,
you,
right? Yeah.
which will
Exactly.
never happen.
Mhm.
So yeah, I forget. I think she said her height is. Put it in. What did she say? 178. Okay, wait. Did she say 178? So she's only 5'9", and they're like, well,
They're
whatever.
Japanese.
Yeah, they're Japanese, so she may as well be 7 foot tall, like 7 feet tall. So
That's 5 foot, almost
basically,
10.
More than 5'4"? That's a giant.
yeah, you're huge.
She's almost as tall as me.
Yeah. So yeah,
Spire, how tall
but
are you again?
which is also strange too
5'7".
because there's no way, like judging from the way how tall she is compared to other characters now, I either have that wrong or these people don't genuinely just have shit wrong. Because there's a military guy at one point that she is taller than. And it's like,
What the fuck?
what is he fucking 5'6"? Like I guess that's possible, but at the same time, like what?
All Japanese people come out of the factory 5 foot tall.
Yeah.
They just stretch them out.
They're all at least what
Yeah,
they're
you gotta
between
water them
140
like
and
bonsai trees
150.
or they wither.
140 and 150 centimeters. That's that's the average Japanese height according to HoloLive. Ha 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 ha. I don't know.
But
I'm not
yeah, so
Japanese.
yeah, her thing is she's really tall, and she has like a good composure, like good stature, a good posture, etc., etc. Naruto Ai's thing is that she doesn't really care about anything anymore after dropping out of being an idol. Um, they said that after she called a fan creepy to his face, she got canceled online. At least that's what it was subbed as, and that's what it's like. The implication is like, oh, she got like they fucking attacked. It's like, what? That's not what canceled means. I hate
They
to tell
bullied
the
her
subbers.
online, right?
I'd have to see. I'd have to see what it is. I mean, it's not even like bullied. They were just like, "Oh, did you see this idol? Yeah, she called a fan fucking creepy through his face. Like, what the fuck?" And then they just like, just basically like, I like you can't even really say dragged her name because she did something. Like, uh, like I don't know. That'd be like saying that like, yeah, like a musician
Well,
or an
then it
idol
would be
got
like
canceled because
attack.
she fucking called someone like a creepy slime ball to their face, and it's like, but that's not what that means. But anyway,
Or I think
um,
there was a recent incident where sorry, this is me just going a little bit of classical nerd, but it's like Zuka's Pinkerman, I believe. Um oh sorry, Pinchas Zuckerman. What the why did I mix up the name? Yeah, Pinchas Zuckerman, a very famous
Mark
violinist.
Zuckerberg.
No. Pinchas Zuckerman, very famous violinist, was in doing like a master class, and then he like said something like, uh, like these Asians can't, play with emotion or something like that, right? Yeah, it's like getting attacked
yeah,
for
it's
that
like,
or whatever.
yeah, like that's not a
Wow,
canceling.
racist.
Like you did something wrong or said something you should not have, and now you're gone. Like that's not. Anyway, so she got forced to retire essentially, and then she joined this because she was like, well, I have nothing else to do. Also, she's afraid of men. We'll get into that too. But that's basically where our series leaves us. It's the trials and tribulations of this new class. And I'll have to say, the audio visuals are very, very good. There is some really, really good shit in this. And there's not like a ton I can get really into detail, but they do play up a lot of scenes. There is a lot of like stylistic choices in that regard, of sort of trying to represent the idea that like Sarasa's supposed to be this, they thought she was just some bubbly idiot. But then the reason why the faculty let her into the school in the first place was they saw her and were like, not only is she huge, which we don't have to play like any role, like we kind of need someone like that, but also she is completely fearless. Like has no, like so far, like no semblance of stage fright, like won't shy away from a role, etc., etc. So sort of like stylizing the rest of the class, sort of like getting sucked into her world essentially, or like sucked into like her like star power in that sense. So they do a lot of stuff like that.
Can I interrupt for a second? This was sold as a coming of age series, right?
Yes.
This? Okay.
Yeah, and it kind of is. So
yeah.
Here's where things kind of get messy. I'm up to episode 5. This show is pretty episodic in certain ways. Of sort of like going down the line of the class and like their trauma, essentially. Which is not a good thing to do episodically. Because for Narita we're introduced and she's basically like, I fucking hate men, they're disgusting and creepy and I never want to be around them. We are not given a reason why at first. It takes up until episode 3 to start doing what would probably continue to be... No, I mean to continue to be episodic. Like, the least episodic stuff, honestly, was like episode 1 and 2. Because episode 1 and 2 is like setting up the school, setting up like them meeting each other. Then episode 3, you're immediately hit with, by the way, Narita was molested by her mom's boyfriend. And you're just kind of like, so you waited until episode 3 to explain that to us. Why? Why wait so long to do that? And it also resolves that trauma in a single episode, funnily enough.
Wait, what do you mean by resolve?
Oh, that's it. Like, granted, it is a baby step, but she interacts... Essentially, that entire episode centers around the fan that she called creepy. Essentially finding her and giving her back, like, I think like a bag that she dropped or something at the time. I forget what he gives to her, but he wants to give her something and she thinks that he's a stalker, leads to a whole bunch of bullshit. Then, like, her only male friend and Sarasa wind up talking to him, and he explains that he was like, it's not that, like, he's not obsessed with her in that sense, but like her attitude like helped him overcome shit, and stuff like that. And like he's a fan, he's just genuinely a fan of her, and how she didn't essentially, like, he didn't see her as like changing herself to be a part of the idol group, because her thing was that she was like the cool collected beauty essentially. Either way,
the issue is she overcame the hurdle in the episode and she's going to heal from now.
Yeah, because he helps, like he helps her out with like these two guys that are actually like trying to harass her. And then she just like hands him something and she's like, okay, this is all I can do for now. Like, I'm sorry. Because he was also apologizing because he felt that he was like, oh, I feel like I got you kicked out because you're right. Like that day, like I was nervous, so I was fucking like I was sweaty and like hyperventilating, and I fucking said I love you like an idiot. Um, and so like I think that like that was a decent episode. Like it was a good episode, but the tone shift of being like, okay, here's this comedic relief character. By the way, she has this trauma because she was molested. Also, back to the comedic relief character. And it's just like, so we're doing this in what? We're doing this in 20 minutes? Like, that's what we're getting up
Nice.
to? Like,
we gotta get over these psychological problems quick, man.
yeah,
done.
and then it gets worse because the following episode is like, okay, guys, how do we cover botulism in 20 minutes? Like what? What the fuck? Like, no. You can't. How do we cover and overcome botulism in 20 minutes? And it's like, what the fuck, man? Like, you can't do that. And sure enough, it really couldn't, because it was fucking insane. Because the timeline doesn't even add up. So basically, one of the characters, Ayako Yamada, her mom sent her to the school, and like her whole family is like super proud of her, but that also puts pressure on her. I think it was like the ballerina instructor said that she was fat or something, and then she started quote unquote dieting, which turned into binging and purging. Which, let's unpack everything about this that didn't make sense in this episode. Aside from it being 20 minutes long and trying to unpack an eating disorder in 20 minutes, here's a couple of things. One, let's start with one, which was the ballerina instructor was like, damn, okay, I probably like shouldn't have said that, but at the same time, also this is like school is sink or swim. So one, no. No, because you just created an eating disorder in one of the students who did not have one before that. So
Yeah.
you are indeed
Kinda,
wrong. Like, there is no angle here that should be being presented as if this teacher was in the right or correct.
Yeah, there's no buts. It's like you literally induced an eating disorder in one of your students. You should no
You're gonna
longer
live
have a
traumatized
job.
for your entire
Yeah,
life. But
the only counter that she had in the entire episode was literally talking to her, and she was like, "Well, I'm dieting," and she was like, "Yeah, but don't hurt yourself by doing it." To which it's like, okay,
what?
but you're not lingering on it enough. And so she was like, "Okay, make a list of everything you've eaten today. Like you're eating. I want to know every single thing you eat." And so she's looking at the list, and she's like, this doesn't add up. Like, she's losing weight, but she's eating all of this. Like, she's binging and purging.
Yeah.
But yeah, so anyway, so she makes this list, and it's like, first of all, the list doesn't make sense. Because it's like, if she has this disorder, why would she actually list what she's eating? Like, if she's binging and purging, she's not going to be like, yeah, I ate 32 cookies today.
Yeah.
Like,
And then barf them all back up, baby.
yeah. So that's one part that makes that doesn't make any fucking sense with trying to tackle this. The other side of it is that if you're binging and purging, you're probably not going to lose weight. That doesn't really happen in a lot of people. Because you can't.
Well, you can lose weight, right?
You can lose some, but it depends on how heavy you are already. Like, you have to.
I mean, it depends how quick you're purging. Because with a lot of people with eating disorders, they will literally purge like minutes after they eat. And then like you're literally not even getting nutrients out of the food you're eating. So yes, you will lose weight, but it's because your body's
I
not
mean, it depends. It still
nutrients.
depends though, because there's only so much you can essentially throw up after, and if you're eating super high calorie stuff, so you won't get nutrients. You'll still probably be like start gaining or maintaining weight like unhealthily. Like it's still extremely difficult to purge enough to like actually lose a significant number of like amount of weight. Also, how long is this episode supposed to take over the course of? Because not only does she lose weight, but her people say, oh, they find out and they're like, and they essentially try and help her, but it's like, oh, her fingers were red and it's like harming her throat. And it's like,
What the fuck does that mean?
for it to do that, this has to have taken place over an extremely long amount or a decently long amount of time. Like, this can't have been taking place over the course of a few days. And if it's taking place over the course of like weeks and weeks, like, what the hell is the pacing of this show? Because no one's accomplished anything yet. Like, no one's done anything. So that to me was like the really weird part, how they were like, oh yeah, she's like really lightheaded and dizzy. It's like, okay, there's that. That's fine. But then they're trying to like say, because part like that is a thing with bulimia where your fingers will start getting fucked up from the acid and your throat. But that doesn't happen in a week. So
Yeah,
that takes a while to happen, especially for the fingers. Like that does take a decent amount of time. Because otherwise it's like, what is she doing? Are we supposed to believe she's binging and purging like 5 times a fucking day or something over the course of like, but then it's like, we're not shown it. Like we're not shown enough. It's not given enough time in universe to begin with.
right.
But then, you know, a teacher gives her a pep talk and then lo and behold, we've overcome that. But that's like the other problem I have with this series so far is that it's not like she went from eating disorder to let's like actually tackle this issue, but
Mhm.
then let's also like let's look at how someone would recover from that,
Mhm.
especially if it's like a short-term thing too, because it's like, you know, if they catch it early, like her trying to do something like that, like you could argue that you could break the habit much easier. But unless I missed something somehow, there was never really a part where they were like, okay, so instead of doing that, we're going to actually get you like, or act as a nutritionist for you. And we're going to essentially like give you like scheduled eating, essentially, of like, here's what you can eat if we need you to lose weight. As far as from what I
Nutritionist,
understand, they just
dietitian,
kind
or
of
like
drop it. Like, yeah, dietitian and nutritionist, and it's like, there you go. Like, I think that would be a cool, like, way to tackle that episode. Granted, it would
right.
probably need more than one episode.
Absolutely.
But certainly not just the gay piano teacher giving her a pep talk. And like, okay, problem solved, folks. Like, how is that like this doesn't make any sense because it's like before you were saying she was overweight or she was too fat, but now like, so are we back to square one? Because it's like what are we supposed to do? Like, did she change her eating because she'd have to stop? Like, it's not like she could just stop purging because then she's still binging, and if she's not binging, then it's like, can we explain the part where like we did something to make this better?
Yeah.
And that's like kind of where I got up to, because I was like, so this series seems to be doing that now, where it's like, okay, here's an episode, here's how we're gonna tackle it. Whereas like Sarasa so far was just that, like, you know, everyone like in her like someone in her family, like whether like her grandmother or something, was like, you'll never be Oscar, like when she was a kid, and that like fucked with her or something. But or Lady Oscar. So that seems to be hers. Who the hell knows? Like that'll probably be a thing that is overcome by the end of it or something. Not really sure. But like the the drama, and like I take the synopsis pisses me off because it's like the raw talent, like the harsh realities shown of show business, and it's like these are things, sure, but these aren't being tackled in any reasonable fucking way.
Yeah,
It's kind of
the
like
issue is
presenting trauma, having characters react to it in a more real way, or like more what's it called way, like their emotional state is darker, essentially. Like their emotional states aren't like,
Mhm.
downplaying it in the sense, but then you resolve it way too fast, which downplays it alone. Like, I mean, resolving it at all, resolving it way too fast, passing over it, like all of those things still downplay it. Like, you can't like introduce like molestation, have like a scene where you're like, okay, that was grim. Also, her reaction is grim, and everything around this is grim and more of like a harsh reality. But then you're like, okay, it's done in one episode for now. Like we're gonna put that aside. At most, we're putting that aside for now, and it's like that's not really something you pick up and drop. Like,
the issue is both the timeline and the method for solving it is messed. Because it's like if it was one thing, it'd be a standard level of disappointment if it was just like, oh, they got the way to solve it wrong. Like that's a
I
very kind of
mean,
like
the
weird
I mean,
issue
the
is,
way
I
to
think the
solve it
issue
is
is
like
more the fact that
okay,
they're
but
trying to solve trauma.
yeah, that too.
You
I
don't
mean,
really, you don't really do that.
yeah, and I think I should say, like in fairness, Narada like eyes did end with her being like, just essentially dropping a handkerchief in front of the guy after he like defended her from like the harassers, or tried to break it up, but wound up like fucking doing a diving tackle and landing on his own face. Uh, but either way, it was more of like, hey, it's the thought that counts, and then everyone else stepped in too. But her being like, this is all I can do for now, and being genuinely like remorseful that she can't overcome it enough. But like it's tough because you're taking a flashback now that we're just being shown essentially this episode, and you're trying to like set that aside. Like that's not, like I just feel like that's something that like you can't just do a flashback one episode and be like that's where her trauma comes from, and then just be like, okay, and now we'll go on to either the trauma now, or we'll do a baby step to like slightly overcome it, something like that. Like I just feel like that pacing was really way too quick for something like that.
Yeah.
But anyway, yeah, I do agree with Nier as well. Like the more of like the binging and purging thing like that, it's like just like the idea of, oh, we overcame it because we overcame it is like, no.
that's not how that works. Yeah.
Yeah, it's not really how that, not really how stuff like trauma or eating disorders or really any disorder goes. You don't really like, it's not a problem that gets solved. Like,
Right.
it's something that affects somebody for the rest of their life. Like, you can have it under control, um, but it's not like, oh, uh, I'm 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 done having an eating disorder. It's like, no, it's it's something that you have to
Yeah.
deal with forever.
And I
Like,
mean, well, I don't know. I don't know if it needs to be forever in that sense, because it's like, at least for some, at least for the way, at least in this sense, like the way it's presented, it was like a very clearly onset thing. Um, Like, like, why did this occur? It occurred because of the thing that teacher said. So I
Yeah,
think
but
I think
then like
having it
then
essentially like
literally
take the back seat is fine, or like
at any
quote
point
unquote be
something
like,
else
I'm
could trigger
cured.
that. Like, you know what I mean? Like there is any number of things that could trigger a disorder like that. And having somebody relapse into that. It's not something that it's just like, oh well, the person that called me fat said sorry, so now I don't feel bad. It's like no, that's not really how
Yeah,
stuff like that
like
works.
I think what they needed to do was they needed to, like, if they wanted to quote unquote like solve it, they, like I said, like they needed to have something like a dietitian and like a nutritionist or something like that, and essentially like, show the actual process of how someone realistically can overcome something like this. Like if you're gonna throw out essentially like as fucked up as it is, if we're gonna have like trauma fucking trivia of like, oh, here's your trivia for how fucking bulimia works. I keep saying botulism. I don't know. Is that the same thing? Bulimia, botulism.
No, it is not the
No,
same thing
no,
as
botulism is it's a virus, right? That like you get from
food poisoning.
eating
I
like
think.
basically canned food or whatever.
Yeah.
I think
Oh, well, I
it's
keep
like
saying
from that.
I meant
Yeah,
bulimia this whole time.
botulism like can potentially kill you. I'm pretty sure.
Yeah.
Like it's like
It's food poisoning related
yeah,
or like,
Okay,
but yeah,
that's going to be very
yeah, bulimia.
confusing going back to
Yeah.
that because it's going to be
yeah.
thinking this girl is giving herself like onset food poisoning. No, bulimia.
Yeah.
So the word for it, bulimia. But
Yes.
regardless, like if you're going to give us essentially the trivia breakdown of that eating disorder, give us the actual like solution too, essentially. Like, and the fact that it's not like a hard solution, the fact that it's something that needs to be worked at, essentially, not like I said, the fucking piano teacher fucking knocking on her door, or the vocal coach rather knocking on her fucking door and being like, actually, you're good, you're really good. Like your voice is really good. Like, and it
Me-
sucks too because it's like it's almost there, right? Like it
Mhm.
was almost there where you have the one teacher that said that to her and is like, "Well, I'm not really in the wrong." And then you have the vocal coach who's like, "You are in the wrong. Like you're you're an ass. Like not only are you an asshole, you're wrong. Like you're wrong and you shouldn't have done this." And it's detrimental to our own fucking students. Like this didn't help her. Um, So like it was almost there with that sort of like infighting and concern on one end. Um but then it just doesn't follow through with it enough. And I would assume that's because the next episode we have to go through someone else's trauma, which also needs to be resolved in 20 minutes. Because realistically, by the end of this series, we can't have an entire class that's still going through fucking trauma and expect them to put on any semblance of a show. Because
Right.
you're just going to have people who you showed an episode of, they can't really function, and now they have to put on a play.
Because you have to show them because the audience had to be shown the severity of the trauma, but now because the trauma is severe, like they can't be
Yeah, you
expected
can't
to.
expect these people to be like actually decent students and continue and eventually put on a play by the end of the series.
Right.
So, I mean, in general, it needed more time, and it needed it needed to follow through far more with these things.
Yeah, it needed better support slash better research on these things, and obviously, I just said like the pacing, the timing of these things can't just be like yeah trauma, okay.
Now
Like that's not how that.
this is a manga original, so it could just be truncation.
Hmm.
However, for the bulimia thing, I feel like it's not because again, how the fuck do you show like you can't really have unless like this is really drastically changed, and like in the manga it shows like the first month and jumps between characters and shit. Like the timeline for the bulimia is completely absurd. So like that's like the one issue. So it's like I would say maybe the manga doesn't do it as bad, but in that regard, it I don't see a way that it wouldn't, unless this is like drastically changed.
Right. Can I? I mean, another sort of important thing though also is that like these. I mean, especially since it's a coming of age, it's a very sort of introspective, retrospective. Like it's the series is much more based upon the specific character development of each of the cast members than a lot of other series, right? So the issue is these sorts of things, like when they're dealing with a trauma, when they're solving it, is even more important, right? And that's like another sort of straw to add onto the camel's back, right? The proverbial camel's back, where there can be series where the background lore isn't necessarily super as important, right? And like whatever. But especially in this, where it's a coming of age series, where it's about the cast or it's about the characters, it's about how they kind of cope and become better people, right? For them to make a mistake of this caliber, of this level, is kind of like it's a very like you had one job and you fucked it up kind of thing. So it's extremely unfortunate in that.
Yeah, I mean it is very much a almost like fucking tell me something I don't know scenario where it's like, yeah, I don't know, just presenting these things and then essentially solving them in the most basic manners possible isn't
Mhm.
compelling in that sense. Like I would even say take something like Kokoro Connect. There was the one character whose name escapes me. Um, I forget her name, but she was the blonde.
Oh,
Who
isn't it
was
like Yui or something?
I don't
Maybe.
remember, but all I know is that she was almost similar to I in the sense
Yeah,
that
Yui. Yui.
she was the character who was like I don't like being around guys. I don't like being around older guys like by
Uh,
myself. Like I have my core group of friends and like that's it. And then it was like, her past trauma was I think like someone tried to assault her. Um
yeah, 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 yeah.
so it wasn't given as severe of a gravity as the situation with I to begin with. Um
Mhm.
But to overcome that, it tied it back into the story with Kokoro Connect, where she body swaps with one of the male MCs, and the male MC is like, "Oh, here's a scenario. Now you're in my body, okay?" And he kicks her in his body in the balls, and she feels that, and then they switch back during that, and he was like, and he's basically like, you know, essentially like self-defense remotely, do that. Like it's like, does that make you feel even somewhat safer in that you now essentially have a fucking like target in that sense? And she was like, a little bit.
Well,
And it kind of goes from there. Like she doesn't essentially overcome her trauma. He was just making a point of like, you're not defenseless. Like your body did that to me.
right.
Um, and I thought that was a really cool thing to have in that series with the content of that series. Obviously, this series doesn't involve body swapping, but to present that in a way of she's not overcoming her trauma, and it's not really like that big of a step, but it's more of dealing with it in the moment scenario. So,
Right.
I just think in general the series could have done a better job of that so far. And I think honestly the weakest part of the show is the drama. Like I think the drama is the weakest aspect. I think the comedy and more like just calm slice of life is way better. I think the audio visuals are really good. And then I think the drama just kind of like it brings it down, but it doesn't even really it hasn't really brought it down for a point that like in a it brings down the mood, but then its payoff isn't strong enough, in my opinion, to like justify that. Like, I don't know. Like, it's better than if the series was just like, isn't molestation bad? In the middle of like a comedy bit, and it's like, okay, like I'll give you that, but it's honestly not much better than that in that regard. Like it does not have enough payoff, in my opinion, to justify how heavy of things it's trying to introduce.
It's
But
very
I think that's about it for that.
very unfortunate. Any last words on the series?
I'm gonna stick with it, I think, to try and see where exactly it goes, but I think I have a good feeling of where it is, and it'll probably be a mixed bag. It definitely has extremely redeeming qualities. I think a lot of the interactions are pretty good. I think, the audio visuals are great. But yeah, that it definitely does have that huge flaw of how it handles like the drama and traumas. So,
Right.
you know.
Yeah. Very unfortunate. But yeah.
So dark. All I'm hearing is that you just hate women.
Yeah,
Pretty much.
I
You
don't
you
care for the trials and tribulations of girls or
you,
women.
you can't understand it because you're not a woman, and neither am I. None of us are qualified to review this series.
Sorry.
It's
Yeah.
true. I forget that when you're a girl, bulimia is very different, and you can just
Yeah, and you
you
can
can
just
We're about
just
to.
overcome it,
you just fix
forehead.
it.
We're
Just
about to. We're
stop
about to send
throwing
Dark.
up,
Yeah.
forehead.
We're about to send Dark on a public apology tour after this podcast. But yeah. Anyways, thank you, Dark, for
Yeah,
helping
I'm really
cover.
sorry, ladies. I'm sorry.
I should assume that you could have
Your
just
eating
gotten
disorder.
over.
You know what? You're right. I was wrong. Your eating disorders aren't real.
God damn
I'm listening and I'm learning.
it. Oh, Jesus. Anyways, that was Dark covering Kageki Shoujo, or localized Opera Girl, the same manga original, adapted to an anime by Pine Jam. And yeah, and thank you, Dark, for helping to cover this. And with that, we are moving on to Toast. What do you have for us today?
I don't know what the name was. I forgot.
Seirei Gensouki, right? Like
That the one?
Spirit Chronicles. Yeah,
Well, I don't know why it's called Spirit Chronicles.
that is literally the
There's
name.
spirits in it.
No, maybe. I think there's some. The guy can use spirit arts because he was all like, oh, uh, there's a spirit within me and I can't use magic, but I know spirit arts, so I guess that's why it's called. I don't know. Only the beast men have spirits apparently, like the actual spirits. I don't know why. Where am I going with this? What is this series about? I don't know. So,
Okay.
yeah, you like isekai? I don't.
No.
Good. This series sucks.
Toast clearly doesn't like isekai at all. Yeah.
So you got this dude. He's Amakawa Haruto, all right.
Mm-hmm.
So he's got this little girl that he likes. And he's all like, "Hey, let's get married," and she's like, "Okay."
Uh huh.
Nice.
Then he dies.
GG.
Well, hold
Nice.
on. That sounded kind of bad. Okay, let me start over. So when they were little, okay, when they were little, he got this chick that he liked. I forgot her name. What's her name? What is her name? I don't remember. Whatever. It's a childhood friend girl. He's all like, "Hey, you. When we grow up, let's get married." And she's like, "Okay." And then he goes to the same high school as the chick, but he's like, "Oh, she's talking to some dude. I guess she forgot her promise." Flash forward to now they're in a high. Now he's in college because he's like, "Damn, she must have forgotten her promise and she liked another dude." Guess I'll ignore her for our entire high school career.
It's
And
not
then,
a. It's a fantasy series.
sure.
This is a fantasy isekai, yeah.
But yeah, then he gets on a bus and then he dies. He gets hit by a
Oh.
train.
All right. Okay.
Nice.
That explains a
Good stuff.
lot. Never mind then. Keep going.
And then he gets isekai'd as some little dude, some little boy named Brio. I don't know. Because in this series, it's different. You don't get reborn into an isekai. When you get isekai'd,
Yeah,
you take
you just take over the body of some young innocent child.
pretty much.
That was like that happened in what's it called? I mean, that happened in Bookworm.
Oh yeah. I know what
That
you're
also
talking
wait
about.
no that happened. That also happened in the Mecha one too.
No,
Knights of Magic.
no. He
or
started.
whatever.
He grew up.
Yeah, he
Grew into it,
grew
didn't he?
up, but when he gained the memories, didn't he gain essentially like wasn't he already an infant? Like he wasn't like he wasn't born. He like
That
came a
counts.
baby essentially. No, I don't.
It does. If you start from like a baby, that counts as being born.
Are babies sentient?
I would argue yes. Hot take.
Do babies have
What the
memories
fuck?
memories of being this person before they get taken over? I don't think so.
Hmm,
So yeah, he steals the body
true.
of.
If you take over the body of a baby, it's like you're not.
Toast. Yeah, Toast is living
It's
in
a
some
What's
fucking
going
like.
on right
it's a victimless crime, really. 'Cause
Yeah,
they don't.
Toast is living in a movie that'll come out in a few years. Some fucking dystopian future where rich people fucking pump their memories into a baby.
Yeah.
isn't that essentially the plot of like Boss Baby? Isn't that how that
Is
works?
that
more or
how
less?
Boss Baby works?
I don't even
I don't
I
know.
don't
know.
think Boss Baby involves fucking.
Yeah, I don't know if Boss Baby's really necessarily
Boss Baby might be a
set in a.
reincarnation,
I don't know if he's set
but
in
something tells
a
me Boss
dystopian
Baby isn't
future
like.
where CEOs rule the earth and
And they
Boss
fucking
Baby
put
is
their
the
memories
cog in the
into
machine.
baby bodies so that they can fucking live another life.
God damn.
Isn't this basically cloning though? Like you clone yourself another body and you imprint your memories. Isn't that cloning?
No, because
If
it
it was
has
a
to be.
baby,
It has to be a baby. It has to be a baby for the ritual to work.
yeah.
Anyways,
What was I
keep going,
talking about?
Gus.
All right, so he gets reincarnated to this five. Is he 5 or 7? I think 7.
That is not a
Whatever. I don't
baby.
care.
That's fucked up.
Yeah. So
That
he's all
is
like,
bookworm, damn.
"Oh no, I got a fever and now I'm suddenly 2 people in one body. I'm suddenly Kamen Rider double." He's all like, but not really, cause in that they're a fusion. Oh, that is double. They're a fusion now. Like I'm both. I'm a Kawaharuto and Rio, and I got both their memories. And then like he's
Wait, so 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 there's two people in the body?
No, they
No,
fuse already.
if it works,
Fighting each other.
if it
Okay.
works the way Bookworm works, it's they get the memories, and then it's essentially a what would you call it? Like it's almost like an ego death of both or whatever, where it becomes almost like a new person in some
What
sense,
the
where they
fuck
don't feel
going on?
like the original person, but they're
So-
also not. They're not really either original person, but
So
they're
it's like
leaning
Soma.
more towards the other one. I guess so, yeah.
Sure.
If it works the same way as Bookworm, which it very much sounds the way, where you essentially like imagine if right now you gained the memories of like 3,000 years, I guess if we scaled it up, like you would lean more heavily towards the 3,000 years of memories than whatever you have now.
That's some like existential horror shit. Because it's like,
Yeah, it is.
because the guy that died, like he's still dead. It's just that like his memories just got like just invaded some poor child's brain and basically killed the child, right? Like the child is no more, like he's gone. But like the dude's memories are just like, yeah, I'm here now. I fucked up the rest of your life, and now like you're not even who you are anymore.
It's
And
okay.
Well,
'cause
that's
the
the
guy
thing
that
is
died-
it truly
died
his
still
consciousness
dead.
or not?
Yeah, because the
You
guy
know?
that died,
That's up for debate.
if
Yeah.
he gets changed as well by going into the kid, it's not the same guy. You know what I mean? That's fucked up.
It is. But yeah,
Yes,
then
Steve.
he's so yeah, then 5-year-old Rio's all like, "Oh no, I'm a slave and I get beat up by people in the slums because I'm in the slums now." And then some random dudes who took over his home and I believe killed his mother and hijacked his house. They're like, "Hey, we got this bag with some important girl in it because we're kidnappers. Don't look in the bag." And he's like, "Okay." Then he meets up with I don't know, I believe King's Court and the princesses or something, and some little girls. She's like, "Hey, you seen a little girl around here?" He's like, "No." And then they're like, "You liar." And he's like, "Oh, okay, whatever." And then when he opens up the bag, he's all like, "Hey, a little girl." And then he saves a little girl from assassins and whatnot. Cause and then he's carrying the girl back to the people, and then the king's courts are like, "Hey, you stole the girl." He's like, "No, I didn't." They're like, "Shut up." And then they beat him up.
Okay.
And then he gets beat up, and then the girl's like, "Hey, that dude saved me." He's like, "Oh, our bad." And then he meets the king and like, "Hey, we know you're an orphan, right? As an apology, we'll take you to magic school." And he's like, "Whatever." And then he then he's ostracized at magic school because he's just some commoner and nobility and whatnot. And then years pass. He's now 15. He's a famous commoner because he's good at everything. Well, whatever the usual stuff. Then when he's hanging out with his fellow classmates doing their combat training, whatever, with the nobles, they get ambushed by goblins and orcs and whatnot, and a minotaur. And yeah, obviously, because the noble kids are nobles, they're not brought up in the fires of war, the slums like Rio was. They start panicking when they fight a minotaur because it's way beyond their league. And then one of the noble kids, I believe he's a duke's kid, accidentally pushes the girl he saved, which happens to be the king's princess, off a cliff.
So
He's like,
can I organize what's going on? Essentially, the crux of it is that this is an mainly revenge
"No,
revenge
no,
fantasy isekai, or
no.
the
Let me
initial
finish."
premise is revenge.
No, it's not. What? No. What's wrong with you, Spire? You got to see. You got to let me finish, or you're gonna get it all wrong.
Oh.
Okay, so the dude, because they're wimp, coward, nobles and whatnot. He's the one that pushes the princess off the cliff, and Rio's like, "God damn it!" So he jumps off the cliff. He saves the princess by throwing her up the cliff, and he falls to his death. And then all the noble kids are like, "Oh, hey, that commoner, he pushed the princess off the cliff. Let's blame him. And then, no, what the hell are you talking about? No, he didn't. He's like, oh, shut up, princess. No one will believe you because we're the noble court. Your dad doesn't want to get on our bad side. So she's like, damn. So they're blaming, almost killing the princess on Rio, and then because corrupt politicians, corrupt nobles, and whatnot. We can't do anything against that. And Rio's like, whatever. So he's alive. He slays the Minotaur, saves the princess one last time, then he leaves. Like he leaves the country because he's been blamed for almost murdering the princess unjustly. So he leaves and he's all like, before my mom died, we wanted to go to the east, so I'm gonna visit my hometown. So he goes on a journey. He let's see, there's the noble dude, the son of the noble duke guy that almost killed the princess. He's all like, damn, Rio, make sure Rio's dead. So they send an assassin after him. Assassin turns out to be a beastkin. He saves the beastkin. They become friends. Goes to the beastkin country. Stuff happens. Then he goes back to his hometown. Stuff happens, and that's 7 episodes worth of content.
Okay, so other than the play-by-play, if you had to give a synopsis of
That's the
what
synopsis.
happens,
Nothing
that is
interesting.
not a synopsis. I don't think you know
I
what a synopsis
mean,
is.
it is if that's all that happened.
That's literally all that happened.
That's a
he
play-by-play
leaves-
toast. Oh my
he,
god.
he leaves the country because he hates or he doesn't hate the novel. He's all like, whatever. I can't live in
Okay.
this kingdom anymore because they hate me. So he goes to the
Yes.
beastkin country. Then now he's in his home country. That's all that
All
happened.
right, Toast, can you give me a summary of the themes in the series? Of the theme/structure in the series? Because I feel like this is a pretty standard. Yeah, maybe it's not revenge, although there's a lot
Oh,
of
there's no revenge.
there's a lot of forced drama. Sorry, that's my mistake. That's a mistake on my end. I'd say there's a lot of forced drama in terms of like, oh, fuck you, MC kind of thing, or like, oh no, MC, the people important to MC are gonna be taken away or stuff like that. But other than that, it seems to be a pretty standard isekai, except for the whole like, back and forth, like, oh, I have the reincarnated personality and I have the original personality kind of talking with each other time to time. Other than that,
They're not. What? No, there's no talking to each other. He's literally, I am both. I'm both Amaka, Haruto, and Rio. I have both memories. The end. That's
so it doesn't even
there is no mental clash between who am I and whatnot. I'm
so it's
both.
not even like pharmacy where it's like it at least has like the conflict everywhere.
Conflict in what? There's no conflict in pharmacy.
Yeah, there is. It has that. It has that
No, it's
initial
more
like.
like, hey, you're the conflict in Isekai Yakuko is that, oh, I'm both this person and this person. That's not oh, I can't choose between am I this person or this person. There's no internal conflict. They're not fighting each other. They've both blended. So I don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah, the personalities definitely weren't separate, but uh I'm phrasing this wrong again, but the way that Isekai Yakkyoku, the pharmacy series that's coming up, anime adaptation was that there was like a little bit of like disorientation. How I, and it's like it kind of talks about this like disorientation. Oh, like who am I exactly? Like, am I this person or blah blah, blah like as the integration?
Yeah, there's none of that here.
Um,
He's pretty chill about it.
yeah, he's okay with it. He's got scooped in, yeah. But other than that, it's pretty standard, plus or minus the whole like princess force drama kind of stuff. You would say.
So yeah, it's pretty generic, I guess.
Is
I
there
mean,
is there is
I
there any
mean,
parts that you liked about it specifically, or is it kind of
I guess I guess I like the main character. Maybe 4 out of 10. I like the main character. because he's not the whole hey I'm this overpowered magic guy or I have this cheat skill or whatnot because he really doesn't. I mean he knows spirit arts and he's got this insane amount of magic, but you can write that off as being the main isekai main protagonist. But he's not actively flaunting it or whatever. He's just like whatever, I got it.
Okay.
He's
How
no
are the audiovisual? Oh,
he's
sorry,
no
okay.
isekai cheat magician, if you know what I mean, or the other one, the one that I don't like. Whatever. Most of them.
There are a lot that people don't like.
So studio TMS. Who's TMS? Doctor Stone. Real life. Oh, this one.
Which one was it?
It's TMS Studio.
Oh
Pretty.
yeah. Studio,
It's
yeah.
a pretty good
It's not.
studio, I guess.
Yeah.
If you like Doctor Stone or Rent a
Mhm.
Girlfriend, I guess. To name the recent ones.
They do a lot of
Megalobox. Really? No one liked Megalobox.
but
Yeah,
what
the
are
AVs or audiovisual is fine. It's
yeah.
guess. One glaring flaw is and that stigmatizes this entire series. Guess who the main character is voiced by?
Yoshitsuku or says
Who?
here it says here Yoshitsuku Matsuoka. Matsuoka is
Yeah, it's him.
Kirito.
Guess what his outfit is.
What was the outfit?
You like black? You
Wait,
like a
it's not
couple?
the red in here? It's not the red in here?
No,
It's just like actually
that's his academy outfit. When he
Oh,
leaves the academy and
it's it's
fights
full lonely beater.
fights a black wyvern and defeats it in battle. Guess what his new
Oh my
outfit is?
god, not like this.
That
Don't do
is
this
so
to me.
fucking epic, dude.
So he's up. So he fights a black
He's full
wyvern
lonely
with
beater, yeah.
the beast man at Yggdrasil, and he's all like, Here's your reward. Have black wyvern clothes. It's better than
Oh
metal
baby.
armor and this
That's how we
mithril
do it.
sword. No black
What
sword.
the fuck?
Yeah, he's not a twin sword beater. He's a solo beater
Yeah, that's true. He just
with
beats it by
one
that
sword.
simple.
But then again, Kirito only used twin swords like sparingly. So
Oh yeah, that's true. When he had to like break his limiter and shit like that, yeah. That's true.
yeah. So yeah,
Anyways.
so you got a main character voiced by Kirito who dresses like Kirito and kind of acts cool, calm, and collected like Kirito. And basically, every male character in this series sucks. He's like a horrible, corrupt noble. See, the king's weak. The night guards, their dudes beat him up because they were angry that some little kid orphan saved the princess and not them, so they beat him up. Let's see.
Okay.
The little noble kids who are men are also jerks to him. There's this when he went to his home country, there's some rapists there that tried to rape his what is it? His siblings, I guess. So yeah. Every male character so far in the series is terrible, except Kirito. I'm gonna call him Kirito from now on.
Yeah, that's fine.
And then by comparison, all the female characters that are important enough are all enamored with him. So it's like, okay.
As you do in a standard like harem isekai kind of stuff.
So it's like, okay, it's a generic isekai, slightly better than that, I guess, story wise, because its story is somewhat interesting. It's not generic. Oh, I have a cheat power. It's actually trying to do world building, but then you have horrible, horrible male characters and only female characters that are interested in him. It's like you almost had a salvable series, but now your characters suck. So yeah, that's a big problem here, my dude. This is why I kind of didn't want to cover this series because it's a letdown.
It's very
It's
unfortunate.
it's it's like if the only nice male characters in this series are the beast folk and the elves. It's like, what are you saying? You know, the demi-humans. What are you saying about normal male humans in this series?
Right. It's very unfortunate.
Kind of. I mean, that's a blatant flaw there. What else? Uh. Oh yeah, Session's asking a question, or in the opening, there's this mysterious swordsman in black, but he's got white hair. Who was that? Oh, that's just Rio. He used spirit magic to make his hair white. You know, because the only way to evolve Kirito from the usual black swords and the black hair is to turn his hair white. So now
Yeah.
just
That's
like in
because
the main,
he gets stronger. That's how you do. That's how you do
just like in the main character of Ari Furita.
it.
No, the reason is it's a bit of a spoiler because we're not that far yet. But when you know, he's ostracized by the first kingdom, right? You know, because he nearly killed the princess by pushing her off cliff. So he's got to hide his appearance while he travels. And that's about it. While he does stuff.
Oh, yeah. Anyways, any
Yeah.
last words on the series?
Oh. Oh. I mean, they the way they approach reincarnation is kind of cool, I guess. Like
Yeah.
the actual concept is cool. It's more like, hey, we're reincarnators, but we reincarnate into other people's bodies. So, but why are they all women so far? Because when he was on that's his, because when he was on that bus, he was with other people, right? So,
Mhm.
there was like three other girls on that bus. Oh boy, here you get the picture here. Why
Uh,
all the interesting characters in this, like the well-written characters in this series, are the women? Because they're also reincarnators. So all the people on
right.
the bus are probably reincarnated. That wolf girl, or fox, I think it's fox, whatever. The fox girl that tried to kill him one time, it's also a reincarnator. That's like, oh, I see where you're trying to go with this series. It's like, all
Yeah.
I bet you all of the main like women in this series are reincarnations. Because what did he try to get on an all girl bus before he died? So all the
All girl bus except for him, and then it just crashed. Yeah.
yeah, it's like, is that why all the female main characters are gonna be reincarnators too? Is this how the series works?
That would be pretty hilarious, honestly.
Yeah, I mean, except the spirit that he got when he got reincarnated. I don't know. You can write that
Yeah.
off. It's literally just a write off. Like, if you're an isekai protagonist, you gotta have some sort of cheat power. So we're gonna give you a big spirit, pink haired girl. That's it. What else?
Just because it's cute, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
um,
So I mean, well, what do I think with the series? It's a series that had a good premise, good world building and whatnot, but is ruined completely by the lack of good male characters. And he's basically got a harem already. He's what, 15? I don't care.
mhm.
So all the only good written written characters are female. So you know what kind of series you're getting into.
Right.
It's too much of a sow. It's steeped in the dredges of too much Sword Art Online. You know what I mean? And then you add in Kirito's voice actor and the black armor, the black clothes as a icing on the cake. You almost had it, author, until you did that. So
I
yeah,
understand.
is it better than most isekai, most generic ass isekai? By like 1 point, sure. Is it better than what else was on this? What else was in this? What else was in this season? Isekai Drugstore, yes, by a lot.
Tsukimichi.
We don't talk about that yet.
Okay.
Try,
Well, we
try,
can. Yeah, you can talk about it next episode.
yeah, that's fine. What am I gonna rate it? Or should you watch it? I guess. I mean, I want.
I'm like shaking my head. I don't think you can't see me through the internet, but yeah, I'm actually shaking my head like physically.
I guess you could watch it. I mean, I binged it with I binged it and I was like, eh. I mean, that's a good thing. I didn't. It wasn't like drugstore where I was like, I don't want to watch this anymore. I watched 7 episodes straight because I had nothing to do today. Whatever. I didn't. I didn't throw up or get sick of it when I was watching it. I guess it's okay. What am I gonna? Would I recommend it to people? No. There's a better. There's a of in the season. No, there's a better one. I'll talk about later. Better than drugstore? Yes. I'll rate it 7.7 out of 10.
Okay.
Bro.
That is
Alright,
a
well.
mall rating if I've ever heard one.
Anyways,
Well, I docked 1 point from an 8.7 because they freaking got Kirito in it.
thank you very much then, Toast, for helping cover Seirei Gensouki. Again, it is a light novel original, I believe, right?
Yeah.
Also Spirit Chronicles, and this sort of stuff. And next up is Near.
Wow. Um,
How are we gonna follow up my perfection of a series near?
I wonder. Um, so I'm covering Heian Sedai no Idaten-tachi, also known as the Idaten deities know only peace.
Yeah, it's
Um,
like there's a lot of localizations, like different localizations.
yeah,
Peaceful, but I think it's easier to remember it by its Japanese name. Heion Sedai Idaten. Yeah.
but yeah. This is a Mappa series.
Wait,
Um,
sorry, can I interrupt you? This says genre dark fantasy. What the fuck?
that's not true.
Yeah, I was about to say.
Yeah,
No?
this is I mean, this is a. It's not really fantasy. So, like, basic premise is 800 years ago, there were demons running around and they were fucking up humanity because they were basically completely impervious to, like, man-made weapons, stuff like that. Um, and humanity was, like, on the brink of extinction or whatever. And then suddenly, um, these like deities came out of nowhere and they started fucking up the demons and then they sealed them away and then the world has known like 800 years of peace, right? Um but when they sealed the demons away, I guess pretty much all the deities, like, they like sealed themselves in as well to like hold the seal. um and so there's only one left at the end, and then within that 800 years, I guess more deities like come into the world. Um, Apparently, they just get like naturally born into the world, through these weird like space holes that show up nowhere. But yeah, um, and essentially, uh, the world right now is like it's known peace for so long, and uh, the series like starts off with like showing um our quote unquote main characters. Uh Hayato, which is like the blonde haired dude in the jacket. There's a lot of blonde characters in the series. Um and Rin, which is like this blonde ponytailed girl. And Rin is like the last one that was left like 800 years ago. Um and she's training Hayato, and Hayato's been training for like the last like 80 years or whatever with Rin. Pretty much like ever since he came into the world or whatever. Um, and stuff happens. They discover that there are demons that are like living amongst humans, and they're like plotting, uh, essentially come back, right? They're trying to uh, use like this human military um, for their own means and like take over the world. And stuff happens. Uh, the demons and the Idaten clash, and then the series goes from there. Um, but yeah, this series is again, it's a Mappa series. It is a manga original. The manga is by um, it's written by the guy who did Ishizoku Reviewers, apparently.
What the
Um,
fuck?
yeah, and the art is done by Kurikyo Shinja.
Yeah,
Uh,
very famous.
yeah, also known as the Kobayashi guy.
That Maid Dragon guy, yeah.
Yeah, and
That's the best of both worlds. You got the money from both Isekai Otherworld viewers, and Maid Dragon. So
yeah,
this must be the perfect series, Nair.
um, I mean, I will say it is certainly better than Ishizoku Reviewers because that series was fucking dog shit. But yeah, this is I mean, it's a comedy. It's seinen. It's action. Um, it is. Uh, the story is kind of not. It's not great, honestly. But like the action, and there's a lot of it, is quite good, as you would expect from the Mappa series. It is very, very. It almost feels like. It almost feels like Dragon Ball. Um, because pretty much all the action, I mean, we're talking about like, these weird like deity creatures going up against like demons and stuff. Um and a lot of the action is like, you know, moving so fast that like you're teleporting, and like uh they all fight in like these fucking huge ass deserts with like cliffs and stuff sticking out of nowhere. Um, Pretty much everything they do leaves these big ass circular craters. Like it's super Dragon Ball. But it's actually like well animated as well. So there's that. Um, as for the story, a lot of it is like it's kind of weird because there's there's like this weird uh not really mystery, but it's like I guess the main plot thread is like, how are the demons back? Like what are the demons doing? Um and pretty much all of that is told through like one character, whose name is Easley. He's the bl- the blue-haired like glasses dude.
Mhm.
Um and pretty much like when it pretty much every single plot development is like easily just monologuing to himself, being like, "Ah, yes, now I see what's going on." You know what I mean? Um,
Okay.
so like a lot of the story is kind of just like, "Oh, yeah, so this is happening, huh?" Or like, "Yeah, I totally predicted that this was the case," kind of stuff. Um, there's some weird like allusions to whether some characters are like, hiding their true intentions and stuff. But for the most part, yeah, I mean the plot is basically just like, how do we get these demons to fight the Idaten, right? Um, and it's serviceable enough. Uh, the characters are quite fun, although in my opinion, I feel like pretty much all of the interactions are carried quite hard by the voice cast, um, because Hayato is voiced by Remy Park, um,
Wow.
who is one of my favorite seiyus, like just in general.
Let me see
I
this
a-
fucking
I
list.
absolutely love Remy Park.
Yeah.
Isley, who again is probably the character that has like the most dialogue in this entire show because he's literally always talking to himself, is voiced by Megumi Ogata.
Mhm.
Um, there's Paula, who's kind of just a secondary character, but she's voiced by Yui Horie.
Mhm.
Um,
And there's
Rin,
a lot of heavy hitters in
yeah,
here.
Rin, who's like the sensei, is voiced by Akemi Okamura. But yeah, there's a lot of big ass names in this series, and the fact that like the main two talk the most are like Hayato and Easley, who again are Romy Park and Megumi Ogata, who are some of my favorite voice actors just in general. I really like their voices, um, so that carries it pretty hard for me. But I do like the characters, the character interactions. The comedy is it's all right. I mean, it's certainly a lot better than fucking Ishizoku Reviewers, which was again fucking dog shit. Like, just not good. Um, this series actually has like humor, fucking character interactions. Um, but um, yeah. I mean, it's a pretty alright show, I'd say. Yeah.
Okay. Uh,
So
sorry.
so so who are they? Who is the strongest Idaten?
Um. Well, so there's Rin, who again is like she's like the last one that survived from like the original demon attack. Um and she's pretty much propped up as like she's the strongest. Like she's the one that's teaching everybody else how to fight. Um but then there's also this other character, Prontia, who I guess he's like the first one that Rin taught, and like he's set up to be like an absolute fucking beast as well. Um pretty much this entire series is like, or at least a lot of like um a lot of the stuff that's been happening is like a lot of training stuff, obviously. um and so pretty much Rin and Prontia are set up as like fucking absolutely unbeatable, to the point where even like um the demon army, who like the first time they really like go at each other, they like it's like, yeah, we'll just send one of our strongest fighters to like go and like kill these Idaten dude. And um Ren like absolutely bodies the demon. And then the demons are like, oh my god, like what the fuck do we do? Like, this person's so insanely strong. And so like the power levels that they're working with are like almost comical levels of like, yeah, this character is like basically unbeatable, right? Um, so you know they're pretty strong.
So you like the visuals, near?
Um, I mean, yeah, it's a mappa show.
You
The
you
visual,
you you like
what?
the fish eyes? The
Yeah.
famous fish eyes
Oh
of
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Kobayashi?
Uh,
Yeah. Sort of adding on to Toast's point, I just want to kind of. This sounds like a very strange and like stupid question, but I think it might make sense to you. Like, but how do you feel when you watch this series? Because you know what it's kind of. It's a very. It's an amalgamation in a sense, right? It has like it's an amalgamation, but it kind of ends up being a very base series in a sense that it's just like it's kind of there. It's kind of just like this is animation. Just eat it,
yeah,
bitch. Yeah. Cause but it's not like it's doing that in a bad way, right? It's like it's Mappa, it's cool, Kirshinja. It's the guy writing it is a little bit sketchy, but this incarnation seems okay. This incarnation seems not like Ishizoku reviewers. It kind of just seems like he's just doing whatever. But how do you feel when you watch this series?
Um, I mean, it's very fun to watch.
Mhm.
Obviously, it helps that it's a mappa show. Um, uh, but like in terms of like when you're watching, you can definitely like it really feels like yeah, like this is just saying it. You know what I mean? Like it's just
Just eat it. Just eat
yeah, you
it.
know how like it's like how it's like how Boku no Hero Academia is like kind of like the pure distillation of fucking
Shonen action series.
yeah, shonen series, right?
Mhm.
Like Boku no Hero Academia is like if you took shonen and you kind of just like
If you took Shonen Jump like an action series and just distilled it, it would be that essentially.
yeah, this series very much feels kind of uh if you took like like if you just took like Dragon Ball and then like a bunch of other series and then you kind of like threw a bit of humor in there, like it kind of just feels like it definitely feels like that weird amalgamation of series, and I think it pulls it off pretty well. Um, I think that the humor definitely helps the fact that like it doesn't take itself super seriously, even if like
Right,
the
right, right.
the plot itself sort of tries to have that uh like front facing sort of like yeah like this is serious stuff, but then like immediately afterwards like the characters are trying to beat each other up because like the main character Hayato, like the main way he trains is just like getting the shit beaten out of him, like he's just
Right, right.
constantly fighting, and like the best way he learns is to like you know, go up against someone, get the shit beaten out of them, and then like, oh, like now I understand
He
my weak
evolves. Yeah, he
like yeah, I
evolves.
understand my weakness in this one
Right.
aspect, and like I'm getting stronger because like I'm basically I'm getting stronger because I'm losing, and because they're deities, like these characters are literally gods that like you know it it's a very I wouldn't say necessarily smart way, but it's a very convenient way to get around uh the question of like, how can the main character get up after like getting a fucking cliff thrown at him? You know what I mean? It's like,
Mhm.
well, they're gods. Like in the very first episode, pretty much all the main characters get the absolute shit beaten out of them, and one gets like his heart gouged out of his chest, and characters are like, "How are you surviving this?" And then they're just like, "Um, we're gods." It's like we're just deities. It doesn't matter. Um, but yeah, I mean, the show is fun to watch, but it definitely never really feels like original. You know what I mean? It's just kind of like, yeah, this works. Like it's kind of one of those things where like you throw so many things into the pot that like it feels like it shouldn't work, but it kind of does.
Mm.
Um, and it's pretty interesting. But
Yeah,
again, it
but yeah,
definitely
but the important thing is that it's not really trying to make something grand out of all of it. It's just kind of like it's here. Yeah,
yeah,
just do
yeah,
it. Yeah,
it's kind of
do
just
it.
like yep, like this is the series,
Yeah, 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 exactly.
take it or leave it kind of thing, which is fine. Um,
Mhm.
but yeah, again, it definitely helps that it's a Mappa show, and like they do a lot of really really cool stuff with like colors, like the change in color palettes and stuff. Um, like if characters are in like a dark room and they're like discussing like you know the details of like what exactly is the demon army going like doing, what is the true identity of this like self-proclaimed like demon king, stuff like that. They'll change the color palette so where it's like um characters have like a blue and pink kind of scheme to them, instead of like just the usual like skin tones, which is really cool. I think uh like the first big battle between like the demons and uh like the Idaten, like the color palette goes more red, like the sky turns red, and like the characters are like a different color. So there's a lot of cool stuff with the colors. in the series, which was quite nice. Something I liked a lot. Um, but yeah, I mean, it's definitely not the best thing in the world. It's not the most original thing you're gonna watch, but like, if you like action series, um, like there's really nothing here that you can be like, I hate this. You know what I mean?
Right,
Um,
right,
Obviously the story isn't, like I said, the story isn't the best thing in the world, because it's a lot of it's kind of a lot of the twists and stuff that it presents to you is like, well, I mean, that's pretty predictable, right? Um, like the demon lord stuff, um, like a lot of the twists you could see kind of coming a mile away, largely because, you know, um, like the true identity or whatever of the demon king is kind of like immediately revealed to you because there's like he has the same fucking voice actor as another character that's in fucking flashback,
right.
right? Like, so but it's one of those series where it's like the story, the plot is kind of just a vehicle to present like the action and like the character interactions. Um, and I think it does a good job at that. I
Mhm.
think personally there is a little bit there there's a little much of like monologuing from Easily than I would like. Like pretty much
Okay.
all of the plot is delivered from Easily. It's like
Uh,
I get that he's the smart one. He's like the calculating one. Um, but like there could be another character that tells us what's going on. But it's minor gripes. But yeah, I mean the show's fun. It looks good.
Also,
It's got
can I just say, Near, you mentioned earlier that you're glad that it was Mappa, doing this. You can't go wrong. Sir, there's another cool Kyoshinja series that's been perfectly perfectly well received by the anime scene, right?
yeah, yeah.
It's Kyoto Animation. Come on, what if Idaten was done by Kyoto Animation? Come on now.
Um, I mean, I think if KyoAni was doing this series,
It turned
uh,
into slice of life.
well, there's that. It would certainly look absolutely fucking spectacular at certain points, but I think the lulls would be very, very big.
It would literally just
Um,
be silent, like, they would just run silence on it, yeah.
yeah, because
No
like this is
BGM.
this is definitely a series that kind of just like goes like the pacing is very quick, right? It's just
Yeah.
like bam,
It's
bam,
definitely
bam.
a Mappa
Like
series.
yeah. Um, so as much as nice as it would be for Kiwani to animate every action series ever created, this isn't really a series that I think fits Kiwani.
Near, you know that's impossible. They're already doing Maid Dragon this season. They can't have two
Yeah.
Kobayashi author works
Hey, to be
in the same
fair,
studio. That's
Dragon
not
Season
fair.
2 is way better than Season 1.
Yeah, it is.
Hmm. Anyways, any last words on Edith and Deities? Or
Spire,
is that
Um.
it?
Spire, you keep saying any last words. It's still as menacing as ever. It should be any final thoughts or something.
Yeah, sorry. I apologize. That's not what I meant.
No,
I
because
don't
he's
have
standing
a gun
over the
pointed at you, Ted.
grave.
I'm like I'm literally just like having a gun cocked at like a gear's head, just like.
Yeah.
I apologize.
Um.
You're right, Tess.
So it's interesting because when I went into this series, I did not know that it was Cool Kill Shinja. Um,
Didn't we talk
and
about it during the preview or no?
we might have.
Ah,
But I probably just forgot. But the style of the anime seems quite different from the style of the manga, which is kind of interesting. Um, Obviously, it retains like the same like uh I guess spirit and like the cool Kyoshinja like design is definitely more evident in some of the characters that show up later on in the series. But it is cool to see like um, designs that are quite different. I think.
Is it
For
kind of like how Hisashi's designs changed from his like Edo dojins to his to Netsuke like Yome kind of stuff, right? The
yeah,
yeah.
yeah, but yeah. And I didn't realize, or again, I might have forgotten. This was the fucking Ishizoku reviewers guy. But
Yeah.
it was very nice to have this series not be full of fucking really shitty garbage humor. Um,
And things that could be canceled by the companies at any time.
yeah, I mean the series definitely doesn't it doesn't really pull its punches when it has like um I guess sexual themes, and there are quite a few, because the human army that like the demons are using, like their literal entire like I guess uh I mean they're evil. They're fucking evil, right? Like they're super
Right.
evil. And so their army literally like the way they get recruits is by saying like, yeah, like you'll like when you conquer a city or whatever, you can just pillage and rape people. Like if you want. Like you could
Uh-huh.
just do that. Um and it shows stuff. Obviously it's a bit more tasteful. It's not just straight up uh
Right,
like
like
H
porn,
scenes.
yeah, that kind of stuff.
There's silhouettes of stuff, there's stuff like that, but like it's not really pulling its punches to be like, yeah, they just pillage, they don't do any rape or anything. No, it's like, no, yeah, they rape.
Yeah.
um
It's not
but
like that where it's like they were only kind of hurt. Don't worry about it.
yeah, but it's not like it doesn't treat it like uh it doesn't treat it like it's a joke, you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah. Okay.
um they're curt about it, but it's not like, haha,
Yeah.
sex,
Yeah.
sex.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
but yeah, you know,
That's good in a sense because it's like, especially when you're tying it to sort of like an actual like fight or whatever. It's not. It
yeah,
definitely takes on a different tone, right?
yeah.
So
But yeah, I mean, it's pretty good. Um, I think it does what it intends to do quite well. It stumbles a bit here and there, but yeah, I think it's really good.
you're right. Okay. So yeah, that was thank you, Nier, for helping to cover it. And this was again the Idaten deities only know peace, or also known as Heion Sedai no Idaten-tachi. This is a manga original adapted by the one and only Mappa. It says it's going to get 11 episodes total, right? So it's
Yep.
going to be a little bit shorter in the season. And it is the author is though again the guy who did Ishizuka Reviewers, so be prepared for him to go fast and hard. There is no stopping this man. He has momentum. He's gonna go for it. And obviously, again, the artist is Kushinja, also known as the artist behind the lovely Koyashi Sanchino Maid Dragon. So yeah, again, thank you very much, Nier. And with that,
What's the other Maid Dragon series? Is that Chi-Chi one airing right now?
what
The Maid Dragon, aren't they doing like some Shota Chi-Chi thing? Is that this season?
isn't that? I think you're talking about the Shotokan, like the door manager one. Are you talking about that one?
Yeah.
That's not Dragon though. Yeah.
Is that
Oh,
not
are
the
you talking
same
about
author?
if it's been done? If it's been drawn by Kyoshinja? I don't think that's
Is that
drawn
not
by
the same
him though.
author of Maid
I don't
Dragon?
think so. The author?
Yeah,
Might be.
because
You might be right.
because the flame sack dragon, he's kind of suspiciously looking like like the Chi-Chi one from
Yeah,
the other
yeah,
series.
yeah, no, I know what you're talking about. Yeah, I don't know though. I'm not sure. You might have to search that up. But yeah.
No thanks,
Anyways,
I'm not into that.
anyways, again, thank you so much, Near. And with that, we last but not, I don't know why I'm complimenting myself by saying last but not least. Last up is me, and
Spire, that's called top batter, and you're definitely top batter of this episode.
Thank you very much. So I am going to cover a pretty big names, or not a big name necessarily, but a name that's been coming up pretty hard brand wise in this season, and that is Tantei wa mo Shindeiru, or The Detective is Already Dead. This is a light novel series written by Nigoju and illustrated by Umibozu. It has been adapted to a anime television series by none other than Engi. Engi is the one studio that was, you know, made under Kadokawa. Just they're pouring money into it. They did a bunch of stuff before, like Kyonomichi, Uzaki-chan, Full Dive, stuff like that. So their audio visuals are pretty solid. So going in, uh, just a quick cover. The author behind the light novel, Nigoju, is so he started as an amateur like light novel slash web novel author. He was inspired, he says, by stuff like Oreimo and Saikano and um or Saikano, or How to Raise a Boring Girlfriend, and Oregairu, my youth romantic comedy, as wrong as I expected, and stuff like that. So that's where his inspirations apparently came from. And people might kind of see where I'm going with this, but I'm already kind of putting my head in my hands at this
So,
point.
so he marries her at the end because they're related, right?
Yeah, that's what happens. But
Right.
yeah, so
Ew,
going going
gross.
going over this, it's a Oremo reference, but going over this series real quick. So this series starts in media res, or it starts with a flashback, then goes back into in media res, and then it kind of goes back and forth between the flashbacks and stuff like that. So the initial flashback is the main guy, Kimiko Kimizuka, is an unfortunate person. He just runs into misfortune. He stumbles into crimes. Bad things happen to him all the time. It's like a whole like index toma thing going on. And then one day he meets up with a uh, self-proclaimed legendary detective called Siesta, a white-haired, very beautiful girl about his age, and she's super active and kind of kudere, but she's just kind of like she kind of drags him along, right? She's peculiar. They drag him along. They exchange quips. They're like kind of talking to each other, like, "Why are you taking me along?" Blah blah. Because blah blah. Because, and then she says some non sequitur like random shit, and then he's like he retorts, and it's like a comedy duo, and it's like a Marvel kind of thing, right? Like they gotta do these action scenes, but they also gotta have these clips and like pieces of humor every 5 seconds. Um, so that's sort of how they do it. So the main character becomes the legendary detective sidekick, and they go out and solve all these mysteries. And sometimes these mysteries are just regular mysteries, and sometimes these mysteries involve uh, this fight against a secret organization that is combining regular humans with like synthetic, like appendages and stuff like that. Like they have like synthetic eyes, or like stuff can grow out of their ears and stuff like that. And these synthetic appendages, give people almost supernatural powers. Essentially. So, uh, so sometimes it's, again, the detective solves regular mysteries. Sometimes the detective solves mysteries that are related to this like supernatural evil organization. Blah blah. They do it for some time, and eventually later, the detective gets involved in an accident and dies. And so, uh, flashback is over. Goes to in media res, and the MC is kind of living his school life. And when he meets this other girl, who, spoiler alert, I guess, is has the memories and sort of feelings from the girl, the legendary detective who died. So she's sort of attracted to him, and she knows sort of random snippets of information about him because of this like sort of memory transference that happened because the dead detective's heart was transplanted onto her as part of an operation. So they get together and they're like, "Oh man, look at this coinky dink! Oh, we were supposed to meet together, blah blah blah, fate and all that bullshit, right?" And then the rest of the series is kind of like a combination of they're solving the mysteries that are laid in front of them, and these mysteries are usually set in mini arc format, and occasional flashbacks where the flashbacks involve the MC kind of dreaming about him being with the legendary detective and kind of fighting off the secret evil organization and kind of uncovering more and more of their background lore and why the girl died and all of this sort of stuff, right? So that's about it. And then in the middle of it, obviously, there's going to be like mild, like romantic aspects of it and stuff like that. Or not even mild. There are romantic aspects.
How can you romance that which is already dead, Spire?
That's true. Necrophilia, I guess. But
So Spire, let me ask you, who is your favorite character in this series? 'Cause I know who mine is.
I'm not gonna lie. I honestly think one of the worst, like one of the weakest points of this entire like kind of story are the characters. The characters are trash. But if I had to choose, it would probably be CS though, or maybe bad, but probably CS though.
You know who mine is?
What is it?
Mine is Matsuri. She's my favorite character in that
Good
series.
answer. Yeah, that's a good answer.
So yeah,
Um,
because there's a Hololive reference in episode 3. Are there any more Hololive
yes.
references?
No, I believe not.
Why not?
So,
Did they run out
what do
of
you mean,
money?
why not? I don't know how to answer that.
But
But
Spire, this season is full of VTuber cameos slash
yes,
songs.
I realize
So
this.
like, is that all they could afford for this series?
um, but yeah. So what was I gonna say? The audio visuals are fine. Engi usually does a pretty solid job. I'm not a big fan. The OPED was, it put me to sleep. It wasn't very impressive. BGM, not impressive. The voice acting cast is pretty solid. It has decent number of top tier voice actors slash actresses, and then the people who are in the main roles, stuff like Miss Tasaki, who are a little bit newer, stuff like that. Shirasa Saho. Uh, they do a pretty decent job as well. So overall, pretty good. Supported obviously by A-listers. As for the story, overall, like themes,
Hold
yeah,
on, Spire.
yeah.
Going back on the music, how are the opening and endings?
Um, they were very standard. I
Are
wasn't.
you sure? Because I thought the ending is pretty good. Definitely a contender for best ED this season,
CD
alongside
this season.
Jahi.
Well, I would have to listen to all the other endings.
Spire,
Well, you know me. I
you,
usually have to listen to the other.
you don't remember who sang the ED?
I know who sang the ED. I saw it, and you reminded me beforehand. But as I said, I would probably
Pretty
have to
good.
watch the other
I
EDs.
support Kagura Nana.
Yes, I'm sure you do. But yeah. But overall, the audio visuals, the visuals were solid. The audio was more or less kind of there. But what was I gonna say? Yes. So the story slash structure. How do I say this without?
Is this like a Sakura the grave? What is it? That Sakuraku-san Bone series where where
Sakurako-san was definitely a little bit more composed. It was
where
a little
all
bit more solid than this.
right.
But what I would say is that, well, first of all, I just want to cover whether this is an actual like mystery series, as in like whether the audience can help kind of also kind of see the clues
Yeah,
and stuff like that,
because
or
I
whether
want
it's
to
an actual series.
I want to know
It,
how if the detective is dead,
how can they
if
solve this?
yeah.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
at least in Sakuraku-san, she sees the bones and she has her bone zone
yeah,
where
yeah,
she
yeah.
where she deter does it her magic, but the detective's dead, and what's his role in this series?
Yeah, he's the sidekick, and he tries to be a wannabe detective essentially. But the thing is, at the beginning, there's a very strong like streak of like when they have Siesta and the Legendary Detective, a lot of it's just like it kind of turns into a detective series where the audience really doesn't see anything, but then the detective is like, I know all of this because XYZ blah, blah, blah happened, and you're like, I don't know any of that. So that's sort of. But when the MC and is kind of struggling through the mystery, it does turn into a much more genuine like mystery series where the audience sees a lot more of what the MC is seeing, and then later when the MC is like, I deduced this because blah 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 happened. You're like, oh yeah, that did happen before in the episode. I saw it. So that actually is a plus for it. What I want to say about the general story is that there's a lot going on. So there's the romance subplot, right, where the dude's like kind of confused, and the new girl is kind of like, oh, am I feeling affection towards him, or is it just my heart transplant, or whatever the fuck? And then the MC is kind of like traumatized by the death, and all this, sad fucking and going whatever is going on here, right? So that's the romance subplot, and then they have the mystery mini arc thing going on, right? Um, and then on top of that, they also have, you know, the the supernatural secret organization, evil organization with synthetic human beings or whatever thing going on, right? And then on top of that, they each sort of have their introspections, like the new girl, who does she want to be or whatever it is, how was she like before, and then how does she develop her character now to be more outgoing or whatever the fuck it was, right? And then the MC is just like, I'm empty, like I'm always chased by misfortune, I'm so unlucky, I just want to get rid of this, I just want to live a peaceful life, blah 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 blah. But then CS came along and all this changed, and all this like character personality conflict kind of stuff going on, and what his desires versus his duty to do something right, and all that bullshit, right? So there are all these balls that the author has to juggle around. And I want to say it's tough. It's not easy to do all of this, but the author did. And not only that, the way the series is made, the way the series is set up, the author had to do this thing where it's like he had to keep changing the scope of what the audience is seeing, if that makes sense. So it's like, what I mean by that is sometimes you have to go grand, right? You have to go like Genu Urobuchi, like show like, oh, in this world, blah blah blah. There are all these types of people, and grand ideas about morality and duty versus right, blah 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 blah, right? And you have to go big, like moral philosophy time, right? So that's the big scope. Or like I have to save all these people, or I have to think about humanity or whatever it is, and the world is coming on, the secret organizations in all the fun and all that stuff. And then sometimes you have to kind of shrink it, right? It has to be like, oh, I'm just in here to solve the mystery, or like I'm just doing this small introspection, like, am I really like, is it really right to be involved in this problem or whatever it is, right? That they're a small like little like worry that they're thinking about, the monologue, the internal monologue. So you have to enlarge the scope sometimes to include all the organizations and subplots in, and then sometimes you have to shrink it to just think about tunnel vision and all the mystery and stuff like that. And that's again a very hard thing to do. I don't think a lot of people, period, not just anime, but I think a lot of people, period, would have a hard time doing that. And this person and this author does not succeed in that. I don't think what I was going to say was going to be of any surprise, but this author does not succeed in that. But I think it's not for lack of trying. It's not like he just half-assed and just kind of throws stuff in and just like that. From what it looks like, he's honestly trying to put all of it in. He's honestly trying to like pack each of it at once. He's trying to kind of do the romance. He's kind of trying to do stuff, but it's too big. It's too big, and two main flaws happen with that. First, the characters suffered a lot. The characters are just kind of like there. It's just like by there, no, it's not that the characters are just there. Sorry, the characters are just kind of like spouting what the author is kind of just thinking in terms of themes at the time. It's not like the character is just like, yes, like the girl is like the girl or whatever, or like the guy is like this guy who's struggling. It's more just like the girl is like either kind of like solving mystery at the time, or she's like suddenly like uh going on this like grand soliloquy, like monologue on like how things are, or like sometimes she's doing all this like introspection about like blah blah blah, or sorry, the MC is going through all this introspection about blah blah, blah how his life is right now, blah blah blah. Or sometimes he's doing all these deductions at the speed of light, or he's doing like, did I really love her or whatever it is, right? So it's kind of just, there's no organic response to what's going on in the story. It's more like the characters are made to kind of just be like, okay, we're doing a mystery, boom, we're in mystery mode. Okay, we're doing romance, boom, we're in romance mode. Okay, we're doing some sort of like introspection on like what my character personality or what my character background is, boom, we're doing introspection. And the rest of it is just kind of like, yeah, I'm just sort of like an apathetic dude who kind of gets emotional when I think about the legendary my legendary detective that died in the accident. But I gotta just act all apathetic, except when these memories come back to me, then I gotta cry. But then for the rest of it, I just gotta be apathetic, and it's very just like, it's not really a character. It's just a vehicle for like delivering the plot content at the moment, which is very unfortunate. And second, the problem that happens is that because so many things are like, the author is just trying to pack so much stuff into a package and trying to make it fancy and trying to be like, this is a mystery series and it has romance and it's it has some introspection on the character personalities and it's deep, blah blah blah, and it's trying to solve everything in. And it's like this sort of amateur, you know at home chef trying to be like, yeah, I'm gonna make some gabagool. I'm gonna make this fancy Italian whatever, like dry cure meat, and then he just ends up with like a regular sausage, like
Yeah.
like what he's doing. You guys, do you guys understand what I'm saying? Like, uh, he's trying to do so much, and he's like got all these recipes, and I'm just gonna do all this, and I got all these whatever stuff, and I'm gonna put them in, and I got all these ingredients, and he just ends up with like a regular like hot dog wiener, like a baseball
Yeah.
hot dog wiener. It's very unfortunate. Again, I don't. It doesn't feel half-assed. It feels like he's legitimately trying to go through this, but it just feels like it's trying to be grand, but it just ended up very small. It's still like stable. Like it's still like, when it's going through the mystery, it goes through the mini arc pretty stably. When it has like the little romance stuff, it kind of tells the little bit of romance decently. It's not that good, but the romance stuff, it does it okay. And then it kind of starts adding in the little bit of the foreshadowing with the evil organization and stuff like that. And then at that point, you're just like, yeah, it's kind of still stable, but it's not really that good. You're just kind of mixing stuff in, and it's just like, okay, whatever. It's just like a salty sausage. It's not anything fancy. So that's the sort of disappointment I felt with it. But it's very unfortunate, and I don't want to disparage him for. I think, despite the fact that he got inspiration from Oreimo and Oregairu and Saikana and bullshit like that, I think he made a valiant effort. But it's very unfortunate that he tried to make it too big, and then he was just like, "Oh fuck, I can't have all this." So he tried to stabilize all of it, and it just ended up becoming much smaller than he imagined. It kind of, if you kind of just read it out, it just kind of ends up becoming a regular sort of mini arc-ish mystery novel with like a little bit of romance subtext on the side. That's essentially all it ends up becoming. Even though at the beginning it's all just, I'm gonna have all of this. I'm gonna have the evil organization, and I'm gonna have the mystery, blah 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 blah. But it doesn't end up being nearly as big. So it's very unfortunate. Um, one thing I would like to compare it to, and some people might know what's coming up, and it's one of the stuff that I often bring up is uh, Dantalian no Shoka, the series by Gainax. So the Archives of Dantalian. I think did this whole set up a mystery series, set up a very sort of more deep pacing, more deep feeling. It kind of slowed the pacing down. There's a lot of the atmosphere is a little more somber, a little bit more eerie. There's still like comedy here and there. They're trading, quips back and forth, right? They're like, why are you like this? You're so stupid, blah, 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 blah. They're still doing that sort of like Marvel kind of cinematic universe kind of like quips shit. But it still overall has the more deep, sort of calmer, somber atmosphere, the sort of atmosphere that invites a little bit more introspection, retrospection, and it starts small. Like the premise and the scope of it starts small, and the mystic, the books and the little mystery, the piece of the mystery starts small, and then it grows from there. It kind of grows the world from there, and now it can kind of expand. It can be more about like what the hell are these mystic archives and phantom books and stuff like that, and then it can kind of go back into the small mystery whenever it wants to, because the small mystery sort of core of Tantalian Shoka is solid. So I really appreciated the way that Tantalian no Shoka approached this sorts of like multi-scope. Like it has to be big, but it also has to be kind of like small at times. It has to focus on the local mystery at times. I appreciated the way Tantalian no Shoka did it, and the way it paced things, and the way it set the tone and stuff like that. And I think if this series was a little bit more like that, a little bit more mature, and the author had a little bit more writing experience, solid writing experience behind it, it would have been good. But as it is, I think it's a little bit, it shoots a little bit too high. It started a little bit too high, and then it ended up being a little bit too small. So, again, very unfortunate. That's sort of how I think about the series. It's, it was a valiant effort. Again, I I usually say these sorts of things where like people are just kind of putting all this stuff in. It's pretty obvious that like people are just like half-assing, like just do this there, just do this there. This guy is actually trying, but it's hard. It's hard. It's not easy. But yeah, that was my review for the detective is
Uh,
yeah, yeah.
why does every white-haired girl have that same
Are you
leave that
thinking of somebody as specific that starts with O? Toast.
yeah, why does every white-haired girl have that same look and that same hair accessory? It's always the
to
cross
to be
with the
to be
two
fair,
lines.
oh yeah, yeah. The pins
Literally
are pretty
that.
good. Wait, it might also be that honestly no, the artist is different, right? But yeah.
Yeah, it's
Uh
not Tanaka. Hell no.
um but yeah, honestly though, you gotta, well, this is just my bias, but the short bangs work pretty well with the white hair, not gonna lie.
It's not that. It's the hair accessory. It's that specific hair accessory.
Yeah, that's true. The hairpins are pretty, like I don't know, the hairpins I guess work well as the contrast. I don't know. It's kind of like how girls color a part of their hair, right? Like streaks of their hair. Maybe it's something like that. It sets up the contrast. But yeah, that was my review for The Detective Is Already Dead, also known as Tantei mo Shindeiru. If you want a very sort of lukewarm, standard mystery novel with a very sort of flashy beginning, then check it out. Other than that, I don't think it's that particularly impressive, but it's definitely not like half-assed. It's just that it ends up being lukewarm. So yeah, that's it for my series. And with that, we are moving on to the news. So, not too much news this time around. Actually, very little news this time around, honestly. The single sort of major piece of news that we have, other than, the usual, everybody's catching COVID and having to go to hospital and stuff like that, is the one big thing is Sony Pictures Entertainment and AT&T announced on Monday that Sony's Funimation Global Group has completed its acquisition of Crunchyroll from AT&T. The purchase price was 1.175 billion US dollars, and the proceeds were paid in cash at closing. AT&T expects to use the proceeds from this transaction to help support its debt reduction efforts. Blah blah. The announcement did not reveal how or if the individual streaming platforms, that is Crunchyroll and Funimation, will merge or plans for a subscription cost for users. So Crunchyroll's own announcement reads, the two brands you know and love will be working together, and we believe this is a great thing for fans and the industry alike. Both teams are
Ah.
knowledgeable, passionate, and have been committed to the anime community for decades. We couldn't ask for better partners. Oh my god. Yeah,
Couldn't they? Really?
yeah.
They couldn't? They
Hon-
couldn't think of any they could have just not partnered. That would have been
Honestly, I
that would have been
think
fine.
so the best result will be for Funimation and Crunchyroll to remain separate. If Crunchyroll and Funimation legitimately start like
No,
merging,
they're planning on merging. They've said so.
yeah,
They're
seriously.
yeah.
Because before we were talking about how they might stay separate, right? But okay,
Yeah. When so this news has been a long time coming. Obviously, these
yeah. The
this
news hit first.
acquisition has been in negotiations for a while.
Yeah.
And the last time we talked about it, I remember saying that Sony would very likely uh, keep them separate, right?
Yes,
Because
that's what
like
I.
when you basically have a monopoly, right? You've now achieved essentially a monopoly
Yes.
um, on the Western anime streaming market, right?
Yes.
Um, you really have no incentive to uh, combine the two streaming services that you own into one, right? Because like, what, like why? Why would you? You know what I mean?
Also, why
Um,
risk it?
Um the only reason why I could see why would be, well, I could see two. It would be to essentially provide like up to legitimately like provide, a bigger like what would you call that? Like more essentially more shows to people at in under one subscription, because like
well,
technically you could
yes.
say like, oh, they're paying more for less, but at the same time it's like I feel like as far as it goes, like, they might be seeing the fact that they could probably get more people then, because you get people being like, well, I'm not going to sub to either because I don't get everything. You know? That's the only reason why I could see them doing it.
I don't know, bro. I think the people that are subbed to Crunchyroll, like if you're, I don't know, man. If you're already subbing to Crunchyroll,
Oh yeah,
and
no. If
like,
you're already subbing, you're locked in. Like they're
yeah, like if
the
you're the
only
kind of
reason
person
to do
that's
this would
like,
be to try to grow. But
yeah, I don't really,
I don't know if it's really going to be
uh,
as effective as they would think.
I don't
I
really
feel
see
like
like
this is a situation where, like,
if you're already
if
willing to
Coke bought
pay,
Pepsi, why would you combine
yeah,
them
like
to make one product? You may as well try and, like, if
yeah, you
anything,
just sell both.
spur up trying to get people cornered in one,
Yeah,
kind of
but
play them
like
against each other. But
I don't know if you're already like paying for anime streaming, like you're basically already in the mindset where it's like, well, why not? Why not? Like, why not buy both? Because people are already like people have already gotten into the mindset to where like streaming services basically just like fucking TV channel where like you've got Netflix, you've got Disney Plus, you've got Amazon Prime, you've got Crunchyroll, you've got Funimation, right? Like people aren't a lot of people these days aren't really thinking twice about like, oh well, like why would I sub to Netflix when I have Amazon Prime? It's like, well, a lot of people just have both, you know.
Yep.
yeah,
Um, like they don't really think about it. So I don't think I don't think really from a business standpoint, there's that much of a reason to combine them. So that's why I said like I had predicted that they would just keep them separate because like if you're gonna milk your fucking consumers for every dollar that they're worth, you might as well just keep them separate. But they've already announced that they're planning on um essentially making it like a big ass huge fucking anime streaming service. And I'm assuming the only reason they're doing this is because Netflix is been making big fucking moves to gobble up as much anime as it possibly can.
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
Um
So it's better to consolidate and just make sure they have as much sort of flexibility as possible in terms of like how the rights kind of distribute.
yeah, cuz like the way I see this move is like they're going to try to sell themselves as like the place for anime, right?
Yeah,
Because obviously Netflix has quite a bit of anime, um, but they're not an anime streaming platform, right? They're just a streaming
but still,
platform that
yeah.
acquires anime.
For
Um,
for the casual people out there, except for like very big like names, Netflix is still a very sort of secondary service.
yeah.
Yeah,
Although it is tricky though because Netflix still gets stuff like JoJo.
yeah.
You know what I mean?
As I said, other than
Um,
big names, other than
You,
big names.
you know, oddly enough, Netflix also has every fate
yeah.
except
Yep.
Netflix has
the Dean fates.
yeah. Well, nobody's gonna fucking buy Dean Fate. So
So I'm hoping Netflix gets Heaven's Feel because I kind of want to watch those movies again. Just saying.
they might go to Amazon.
I
'Cause
mean that's
Amazon,
fine either way. I have both.
yeah. But like obviously Netflix is like they're making big moves, and like Funimation can set themselves up as like yeah, like we have the most comprehensive library. But I think like if Netflix keeps like poaching the key titles, that's really all they need, right? Like if they keep poaching shit like JoJo or fuck,
Th-
what was that other like meme series they had? Oh yeah, Agretzko, right? Um,
Mhm.
like just like these
I think they
key
also
like
have Hero Academia, don't they?
I think
they
so.
also
I'm not 100%
they
sure.
also have Gundam. Like
Yeah,
they got Hathaway. That's a big
they've got a
thing.
lot of they've got a lot. Like they're Netflix is very smart about what they acquire. Like they're not just buying everything up. Um, so unless like fucking Sony is now like with this purchase out here being like, yeah, we're gonna start like really like swinging heavy and start acquiring these big ass titles. I think Netflix is still gonna be a big ass competitor for them, even with like a fraction of the anime library. You know what I mean? So it's I don't know. It's kind of a weird acquisition, in my opinion, because like I don't know the English streaming anime market is like it's pretty big, but it's still relatively niche, right? Um, so I don't know how profitable it will be for Sony, but I mean they paid a pretty fucking penny for it. So
I think the scary thing is if Sony is really aiming to be like at least like PR wise, and then I mean PR is a lot, it's pretty big uh, around these parts. But so if it aims to really be like, okay, we're going to be the ones that at least to the Japanese like students and stuff like that, we're going to be the ones that are just putting out the hand and be like, okay, we're the main distributors. You sell to us essentially, right? Especially considering the fact that Netflix is putting the screws on some studios, right? In terms of like costs and stuff like that, right?
yeah,
You guys, we might still, screw you down the road, but at least we're not screwing you right now, right? Like in terms of money. So get in
See, I
with
have a
us.
feeling they're going to be like, we're going to screw you now, and we're going to screw you down the road.
Well, they're
Just
they're gonna they're gonna
where
be
else are you
quiet.
going to go?
They're
Going to
gonna
go
be
to Netflix?
quiet
Who
on the
cares?
fact. Yeah, they're gonna be quiet on the fact that they're gonna screw them now. Is what I'm saying. It's like we're only gonna probably screw you later or something like that, right? So it's like the thing I'm most afraid of is if in the sort of low but not insignificant chance that um, Sony significantly weakens Netflix's efforts to really get into the market, right? and makes them a pretty permanently secondary service, minus again the super big names, right? And they become the main distributor, then they can be much, 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 much more flexible with yeah, subscribing to Rose says in chat, Spire subscribing to Boiling the Frog approach to fucking across. I mean, that's always how it's worked, right? With subscription stuff. You always
Yeah.
boil the frog, right? But I think that's sort of I'm really scared of the fact that if Sony slash Funimation slash Crunchyroll slash whatever name that they put the Funimation Crunchyroll Funtime show, whatever it is, they become the de facto primary place, then they have so much more flexibility, and we're already in a situation where it's like the model is just
I mean, they can fuck the studios even harder too.
I mean, the studios are already getting fucked, but it's just I mean, it's already not a sustainable model in Japan, but overseas it looks like an okay model, right? Because a lot of money is going in, and the overseas market is always growing, right? And because the overseas market is always growing, they're always putting more and more money into the studio, or not the studios, but the production, uh, the producers and the publishers and stuff like that, right? And localize it. So it looks good on the outside, but it's just I just feel like it's a worse and worse model the more power Sony gets. So I'm just very scared about all of this, honestly. But yeah, we'll just have to see how it kind of pans out. And I all of us, not just me obviously, but everybody on this podcast, we're honestly from the day we started this podcast up until this episode, we're always kind of rooting for people and people that love anime, that are not only the anime watchers but the people who actually make anime down on the ground, the animators, the sound engineers, the the people that are legitimately like working there and are getting proper money, are of proper standards, doing all this stuff, getting their compensation, not being overworked to death. And it's not just the Crunchyroll CEO or the people who are just kind of doing shitty fucking Crunchyroll original projects, or the publishers who are just getting all the money and running away with it. I just hope that's not the case going forward. But yeah. uh, but yeah, that's pretty much the only actual news from these past 2 weeks, the only major news. And we'll quickly then go over to shoutouts and callouts. So again, each person gets one shout out and one call out each. The shout out is one person, place, or thing that you want to praise 5 out of 5 stars, give a rave review about, praise to the heavens, and call it exactly the opposite thing, where you rant 0 out of 5, rage about, talk to the manager, and it can be any one person, place, or thing. And I guess I will start. I want to praise. Actually, I want to praise again winter themed visual novels. Well, it's not specifically winter themed visual novels, but more, or not broadly, but more specifically, I want to praise Amakano, which is just I don't know, man. I fucking love well done winter themed visual novels. It just makes my heart warm, and I just love like the snow visuals and stuff like that. And anyways, that's my shout out. And my call out are like I've done this at least I think 4 or 5 times by now, but I'm calling out English localizers who just like guys, you don't need to translate like like some other girl. Like if somebody is saying like, oh, why are you looking at some other girl, like you don't need to translate that to why are you looking at some other whore. Like you don't need to do that, okay? Just translate what it says.
But that's what they mean, Spire. That's what the
I
feeling
apologize. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's
Read
true.
between the fucking lines, dude.
and
Aspire, it's called localization. You have to get in with modern English slang each time. You can't
yeah,
just
that's
one
true.
for one translate to Japanese because Japanese has their own that has their own literarchy going on in their words.
Yeah. That also reminds me, like the whole like not being either the translation not being accurate or the nuance not being accurate or whatever it is, like doing all the stupid unnecessary shit. When you could literally just take the brain dead easy route and translate it straight is one thing, while just obviously making it less awkward. I mean, honestly, like translating a like super that English meme style is pretty awkward too. So I don't know why they do that in the first place. But also, when you translate a sentence from whatever it was to like, "Hey, Mamma Mia," like "skedaddle do," like using all these whatever, like
But
just shit, yeah, like just saying like using a lot of like random slang or like stuff that's obviously very like U.S. United Kingdom like English, British English kind of stuff or American English kind of stuff, you deny accessibility to the people who are maybe living over in India or maybe living over in Singapore or whatever that are not always in tune with US or UK slang all the time, right?
Good.
And
it's okay.
good. Fuck these people.
Remember, Spire. Indonesia doesn't have Reddit. Also,
Yeah. Yeah.
what
It's
what
like
what's the famous one from prison school? Gamergate. What was the
yeah, gamer
context
gamer
behind it
whatever
again?
it is.
That was fun.
So when you're
What was it?
when you're even something as simple as like um それを本当に使いやすい or something like that, that's like really convenient or whatever, you could just be like that's really convenient or like that's really easy to use or whatever, and that's very accessible to the majority of English speakers around the world, but you don't have to be like that's
Yeah,
very
I'm
terribly
translating that to that's fucking
complicated.
tubular. That is
Yeah,
totally
I know.
tubular.
Totally tubular, dude.
Yeah. It's like that's right in my alley, like or whatever it is. Like, you don't have to do that. That's less good for the like that's worse for the people just looking at it. So don't do that. But yeah, that's my fucking call out. Anyways, moving on to Near. What is your shout out slash call out?
Um, shit, man. I don't know. Shoutouts to, shoutouts to, even though the fact that I haven't watched it yet because I'm honestly too scared to. Shoutouts to the fact that we finally have reached the end of Evangelion 2. Um,
Wait, you haven't watched it yet?
I have not watched it yet.
Jesus Christ, bro.
Near, is it
I,
going to be your penultimate review this season?
it might be.
It's like the people who what is it? What is that like final cut no shoujo like visual novel? It's like the people who are not like I know somebody who's not reading like the final one or whatever, the last episode. Yeah.
I mean, I'm going to watch it because it's like I have to watch. But it's like I don't know, man. It scares me. You know.
Hey
It's
man, I still
insane.
haven't seen the last two episodes of Hitomari Sketch.
Jesus.
As for callouts, I don't know. I feel like there's a lot. But I think I'm gonna call out Twitter because Twitter recently has made it quite like basically fucking impossible to browse the site if you do not have an account, and it is fucking infuriating. If you click on literally anything on Twitter, it will say, uh, like, bro, like you should log in or
Uh,
sign up. And if you
Oh yeah.
I
if you
hate
click
that.
out of the window,
Yeah, yeah,
it
yeah,
tells
yeah.
you to log in. Then it takes you back to the page that you were
What
on
what what I've
before
solved
you clicked on something.
the
And so
the
the
way I've
only
solved
way to
that,
browse
you have to
Twitter,
erase cookies. Yeah.
yeah, you gotta like open a new tab every time you want to click on something. It's
Yeah,
like
yeah, yeah.
fuck off, man.
Yeah.
I don't
Hate
want to
that.
make an account. I do not want a Twitter account.
Yeah, yeah,
Like
Too
it's so
bad,
annoying.
buddy.
yeah. No, you got to sell your information. That's how it works now.
You have
Like,
to make an
Yes,
account.
yes. I love my fucking browsing being tracked. Yes.
How else are they gonna give you epic ads that are designed for
Yes.
you?
yeah, true.
That I block.
Oh my god. Anyways, thank you, Nier, for your shout and call out. Toast. What about you?
My shout out is to that guy.
Yeah.
Want to elaborate?
What's his name again? Forgot his name.
What?
Oh,
I
right,
don't know who
right.
you talking about.
Ludwig, yeah, him.
Oh.
The man
Shout,
in the
shout,
maid costume.
ew, no. Shout out to Germa's Dollhouse stream. That was pretty good. Probably his best work so far, by a large margin.
It was very good.
I mean, I the Bugleberry stream was pretty good, and this Dollhouse stream, he's up in the ante each time. Best streamer on Twitch by far. And everyone basically says, Germa's a good streamer. I mean, look what he's doing. Hey, good guy. I hope he continues what he's doing and not break his back for another 3 months. I mean, I hope he's okay after what he's been doing these past 3 days.
Yeah, well, he did another break dance,
Yep.
so we might not see him for a few months.
And he did jump out of a window, so and he did fight that bear again, so oh well. Yeah, shout out to Germa, great streamer. Hope he continues what he's doing.
Call?
My call out is to the I don't like VTubers right now.
Okay. Because of delays and stuff, and like
Yeah,
bad things are happening. Yeah,
yeah.
like retirements and
How
stuff.
how
Yeah.
how I freed up my entire Saturday. Like the entire 24 hours, because this morning there's the what is it? The Hololive EN server merge relay, and I was gonna skip that because I needed to sleep, so I could watch the entire 9 hours of Gen 2 debuts. But before that was Suisei's stream. I caught that, and then like a few hours after that was Germa's stream, so I need to catch that. Then during Germa's stream at the same time, I was gonna watch the EN debuts, but due to technical difficulties on one of them, they decided to just postpone it. So I hope it's at least next week, Saturday next week.
Hmm,
So everyone can watch it. I hope they debut soon. Is what I'm saying.
right.
Yeah. Also, the only Filipino VTuber that I follow is graduating,
Very
and
unfortunate.
I really don't like what that is completely sudden. No one knows what's happening.
Well, again,
She had good numbers, so I don't know what's happening here.
well, I mean, you're as familiar with this as I am. That this sort of, young female streamer demographic tend to be pretty
She
flighty.
says she's 64. I don't believe
Yes.
her. But
uh,
but yeah,
yeah,
I hope it's that thing that I'm thinking of, and it's not. Now what is it? With
not a health issue
yeah,
or what?
I hope it's a thing I'm thinking of, and not a health issue or
Hmm.
life issues. But either way,
Yeah, yeah,
I wish her the best
yeah. Mhm.
in what she does going on.
Yeah,
But yeah, not a good day for VTubing right now.
yeah, very
After 6 a.m. for me anyway.
important. Anyways, thank you, Toast, for your shout and call out. And last but not least, Dark.
Oh baby. I'll shout out. I'm gonna shout out Star Citizen. Game is fun. When it works, and when it doesn't work, sometimes it's kind of funny too. Yeah, I'm all in. I'm No, I was sitting here during this podcast even, and I was like, do I need an Asperia blade? And then I was like, nah, I don't. So that was good. I'm making progress, you know? That's called it's called self-control, you
No,
know?
it's called character development.
Yeah.
Build some hair on your chest.
But yeah, so I don't know. Game is fucking cool. It definitely has its own like niche that I don't think anything else will hit. Other than it, you know, upcoming. Hopefully, in the next month, they do add, much like their roadmap says, by I think it's like early October, first week of October is DirectX 12 and Vulkan implementation, which will lead to actual graphics options and better optimization. So that'll be cool. Imagine a world where your only graphics options aren't do you want to use your GPU? How much of your GPU over CPU do you want to use? Do you want tessellation? How far do you want tessellation? What was the other one? I think the other option is like volumetric clouds, which the lowest you can go is to medium. And then, oh yeah, and how far do you want scattered objects to be viewable? And that's kind of it. Like you don't get to adjust shadows, you don't get texture quality, like none of that. Like nope. Those are your 4 options. So
Nice.
I think that'll be a big boon if you know, the game has actual like graphics options. So that'll be good. And yeah, I'm just really liking the game. Uh, you know, it's not a scam because I can play it.
Anyways,
And
and
then
you call out. Yeah, sorry.
yeah, my call out's gonna be to. It's gonna be very specific. So, for World of Warcraft, Bellular Gaming, Bellular people put together a list of essentially trying to guesstimate like how many current endgame players there are in World of Warcraft, which isn't technically a hard estimate to put together because you can just check logs and stuff and pull from APIs. And there was a lot of blowback from that, from people huffing copium that are like, actually, World of Warcraft isn't doing that bad. Okay, it's doing fine. It's fine. It's fine. It's fine. It's like, no, it's definitely in the worst state it's been in it's ever. Like, it's bad. The game itself is in probably its worst state it's ever been in because I mean, even like Warlords of Draenor didn't like. I stayed subscribed for that entire expansion because I could log in and I could raid, and then that's all that there was to do. So then I logged out, and the game didn't fight with me. But yeah, so I'm calling out the people that are basically pulling a lot to try and cope, because the estimations are that there are about 2 million or less endgame players in totality between the US and EU, which is very low. And there's probably around maybe 14 million monthly active users for World of Warcraft. Probably. I think. Yeah, no, because that's even highballing it because Blizzard was down to, I think they're down to like 26 million monthly active users. And in October of 2020, Overwatch alone was 10 million monthly active users. And the thing you have to realize is the way Blizzard counts monthly active users is if I go on Overwatch and I go on WoW, I'm 2 monthly active users. So they're only at 26 million. They're at, I think that's like the point that they were at before Overwatch launched or something. And it's like from 5 years ago. So basically the thing was like 5 years of progress undone, which technically it is. Like if you're at a 5-year low after Overwatch came out, like you're offering more products and you have less monthly active users, that's really bad.
Yeah.
And just specifically, there were people that were there was one guy that made like a response video that was like complete fucking nonsense and didn't make sense, but also like was trying to cope so hard that there's a lot of people that are bringing up China, which was specifically not referenced in the video because they're under a different publisher in China. World of Warcraft is, and you can't get any info from China. Like you can't get monthly active users, can't get any sort of like you can't pull from the API to get like how many characters are at endgame that chose a covenant, or how many characters are like at that level, how many characters are at that level and completed like a Mythic Plus dungeon, shit like that. You can't pull any of that info from China. So they were like, we're not even going to consider it. Is also what a lot of people are in denial for, and I've had people literally come back at me directly saying, no, it matters, is if World of Warcraft dies, essentially, or gets, like, cripplingly low, like lower and lower in North America and Europe, it's gone from North America and Europe. It doesn't fucking matter if 1 out of 2 billion people in China play it. Like, if 1 billion people in China play World of Warcraft and are playing World of Warcraft China, that means literally fucking nothing to the East. Like, the success, or to the West, the success of World of Warcraft in China is completely fucking irrelevant. Because we'll never see, like, we
Like
may,
actual.
well, not even actual numbers. We may potentially see, if World of Warcraft got so bad, we could see a merge of like the North America and Europe like servers essentially to be able to play together.
Mhm.
Might see that if it got bad enough. You will never see a global server for multiple reasons. One, the connection would be insane. Like NA to Europe is already fucking horrendous. Like NA to China would be abysmal. But also the fact that they're so separate. Like they're basically like monetization in WoW is different in China. WoW China has different models for shit. WoW China, and like I said, like the servers are different, like the API is different. So you would never see a global server for World of Warcraft. So if it dies in NA and EU, like that's it. Like it's gone from NA and EU. They can have it keep going in China if they wanted to, but it's not like they'd be like, oh, we're making money in China, so we're going to keep the game going, but also we're going to do that at a loss in North America and Europe. Like, why would they ever do that?
China always has the weirdest monetization in every MMO ever. It's because of all the Chinese whales, man. They love the gacha the most.
I mean, it's Wales, and it's also very like strange and inconsistent government policies and shit. It's like they have
their internet culture is way different from like the rest of the world.
Well, also there's a lot of like between it's kind of like the same as in like the Middle East, like Dubai kind of stuff, where it's like there's also a lot of like ridiculously rich new money where they are the types, like if you target them, they will literally buy like 1,000 like times something. Like there's like if there's some like pack, like collection pack to be had, right? They will buy that, like they will buy like 5,000 copies of that. It's like stuff like that. So there's a lot of like the model runs different over there. But yeah. Anyways, so that was your call out, right? I believe, Dark.
Yeah. Stop coping, because the game won't get better if you do.
Anyways, thank you, Dark, for your shout out and call out. And with that, we are done with part 4 of uh, the summer 2021 review. I believe we are going to do one more. I don't think we're going to do two more. We're probably going to do one more, reviewing summer stuff. Go into and then we might have a roundtable discussion afterwards, going into kind of a more theme based discussion, just because this season is a little bit dry. So a roundtable, aside sort of podcast discussion might be a little bit more interesting. And then after that, we're just gonna go straight into previews and start running through the fall season. So we'll keep you updated. And if you do like what we do, we stream every other Saturday over at starting from 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time over at twitch.tv/4PlayAnimecast, where we live stream our recording of the podcast. We talk about the latest and greatest in Japanese animation related media, including anime, manga, light novels, web novels, visual novels, and so much more. So check us out here. Check out our highlights of our podcast here, as well as on YouTube. Check us out on our social media as well. Twitter at 4PPAnimecast, as well as on our Facebook 4PlayAnimecast for updates and information and so much more. And yeah, we'll see you next time.